Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ETN, the most European podcast on Earth. Welcome to the show. It's 11:25, slightly later.
25 minutes late. You know,
slightly later than usual.
It's fine. Don't worry.
Few
Don't worry about it.
Minor technical difficulties, but we are back. Whilst we're back, let me just tell you about our friends over there at Airwallex. I want you guys to leave out-of-date business banking behind. With Airwallex, it's the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all-in-one platform. Go to airwallex.com.
Go to airwallex.com. They gave us a free OpenClaw. That's really nice. It was really nice. Anyway, we're a little bit late. We have our first guest on in literally 4 minutes, but let's quickly run through the guests. First on the show, we have Christian Owens. He is the co-founder and CEO of Clove. Then we have Andreas Helbig, partner at Atomico. They're both going to talk about this FT article that they were featured in a few days ago, talking about white collar exodus, what's going on with AI, the sell-off in the stock market, and everything else in between. They have differing opinions, which is going to be interesting to talk to them about it. I'm actually very pumped for that. Then we have our friend of the stream and our good friend, Enrico Mellis. He is the co-founder of Animal, the syndication company. He has just launched it. He was former partner at Lakestar. All-round gangster. So it's going to be good to talk to him. We have Mick Hodgins. He is GM of EMEA at Notion. They're doing a huge European push, opening offices in, I think, London, Berlin, and somewhere else. I want to say Munich, maybe, but that's kind of a bit pointless if they're going to do that. Anyway, they've just opened 3 offices last year in Europe, and they're on a European tour. They love it. Then we have Alexander Chikunov. He is the general partner at Verb Ventures. Then Milena Nikolic, founder and CEO of Haywire Labs. They've just done a $5 million pre-seed or seed round led by Cherry Ventures, our friends over at Cherry. Then the big dog, Matthew Wilson. He is the co-founder of Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill are on an absolute tear. They've just announced that they're released. So they just released Jack 2.0.
Yeah.
Is that right? 2.0. And they're expanding into SF. They're growing so quickly, which is really cool. It's going to be good to talk to him about everything AI, jobs, and everything else in between. Then we have the legends Toby and Jamie Morgan Hitchcock. They're the CEO and COO of SurrealDB. Very cool to talk to them. I'm very excited. But first on the show, we have Christian Owens, co-founder and CEO of Clove. I believe he's in the studio. Christian, can you hear us? Maybe not. Christian?
Not sure if he can. Okay, he can't hear us.
You can't hear us.
No worries.
He can see us, but he can't hear us.
We're going to sort this out. I'm holding up a 1 second to Christian.
Let me just email him to say, that was hilarious.
You can drop him an email. Whilst Luke drops an email, I'm just going to walk through some of the news that we've got going on today. So as everyone saw, what's making the headlines, OpenAI has hired OpenClaw founder. They've brought OpenClaw to OpenAI. Steinberg made a comment about this. I believe the news broke yesterday. It's maybe being called one of the biggest bag fumbles from Anthropic of all time. Instead of engaging with the open sourced network, they decided to try and sue him for the name. And I think Sam's pulled a blind eye.
Now he's been hired by their main competitor.
Yeah, so we can dig into that. We can also...
can you hear us? Oh, okay, but we can't hear you for some reason. Hold on, our producer is just sorting this out. We're having some major technical difficulties.
You can hear
today.
us, but we can't hear you. That is absolutely fine.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Just talk about some of the news whilst we have Christian waiting. Fair, Christian, the interview starts at 11:30, so not actually late yet, which is a good thing. But OpenAI has hired the OpenClaw founder. White collar threats. This is why we are here to talk with Christian and Andreas later on. The title of the article in discussion was Wall Street Hunts Next Casualty from AI Threat to White Collar Work.
Can I hear you now, Christian? Talk.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear.
There we go. Christian Owens is back on ETN. How's it going, Christian?
Very well. Thank you for having me. Sorry for the technical difficulties. If they were on my end.
No,
they weren't.
They were on our end. So thank
ours.
you for your patience, Christian. Very appreciated. We've been pumped for this conversation, and Luke pinged me maybe a few days ago saying that you'd reached out to to Christian and Andreas to get both sides of this discussion that, from the article in the FT. Everyone's talking about it. We've talked it a little bit on the show already. Would love to get into it. I mean, what you seem to be taking a different side to Andreas. Do you want to maybe explain your side for the viewers, and we can...
We were meant to go through the FT article before, but we had some technical difficulties. But so essentially, everything about white collar jobs and AI, why tech stocks are kind of plummeting at the moment, and fund managers are pretty bearish on what's going on. People can kind of just one shot a bank or whatever they want to go and do. And your opinion is, and you said, a quote in the FT, generally I don't think that the dip is unwarranted. And yeah, I think from the bat, just let's get your thoughts.
Yeah.
I think my perspective comes from having spent sort of the last year or so talking building in the wealth space and trying to figure out how we continue to use human build kind of AI into the process of giving financial and investment advice. And also spending a year talking basically as many people who come to me who work in this industry. And I think two things. I think one that I think we are underestimating like how much of sort of the wealth space today is incredibly manual. In terms of pen and paper onboarding, 30-page PDF that you have to fill out. I speak to financial advisors and wealth managers who do KYC in person. So they have to like block out 4 hours of their day to travel to a client to see their passport.
Yeah, wow.
Before they're able to start working with them. So I think that like the delta between like what we're used to in fintech and signing up for a neobank account or trading account and where a lot of these organizations sit today, like there's a massive delta between where we are. And then I think the second thing is, and obviously like you can read into that and be like, this is going to be great. Like just imagine all of the efficiency that is going to be gained kind of through this. I am not entirely sort of sold on the fact that a lot of these sort of like, I would call them like mid-market sort of scaled sort of wealth managers, financial institutions are institutionally equipped for the level of like rip and replace and transformation that's going to be required of them. Like you talk to some of these folks about kind of what their AI strategy is, and it's like, well, everybody's got a ChatGPT license, and it's like that's kind of where it stops. And like obviously if you talk to some of these really large organizations and large financial institutions, they have hundreds of people, like some of the most talented engineers in the world, like working on these problems when you look at sort of like the big financial institutions. But I just don't think it's sort of, I don't think we're talking about those. I don't think we're worried about what sort of JP Morgan's AI strategy is, because I'm pretty sure it's probably quite excellent. But these mid-market financial institutions, wealth managers, financial institutions, and so forth, I think they're wholly unprepared and under-resourced for like the freight train that is kind of coming through their business. And I think it's a product of a couple of things. Like one, they're underprepared for this. Two, a lot of these sort of the systems and kind of systems of record like in these businesses are entirely disintermediated. You talk to them and they're using 15 different things. Like it is a regular part of an advisor's day-to-day job that they're having to enter the same information into 7 different tools. And like they budget for it. They don't fix it. They budget for it. They go like, okay, the client to advisor ratio or the amount of time that we dedicate toward administrative duties per client is X, because we recognize we have 5 different systems of record. So I think that there is obviously a massive bull case like kind of scenario here that a number of firms kind of embrace this. They're able to massively rationalize sort of operational headcount. I think there is still a massive place for kind of humans in financial advice. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think they're the conduit to trust and reputation and credibility and accountability. But sort of the way that these institutions are historically architected is just not set up for what we're about to do. So the argument that I made in the piece was, I don't think the dip is unwarranted for that reason. And my view at the minute is, it's not universally true, but for the majority of these institutions, they kind of have to be rebuilt brick by brick from the ground up with like thinking in this new paradigm. Sure, the most scaled of those institutions are kind of already have a lot of systems and IP where they're doing a number of these things themselves. But for a big chunk of the market, I think that's not the case. And I think those are the types of stocks that we saw sort of have a dip in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you saw like, even like, I think it actually says it in the articles, like Morgan Stanley got kind of within that dip, but was that warranted? I don't know. Because what you're saying is all the other ones that are actually not prepared, that is warranted, but everything else is should be fine just purely because they have so much capital and are probably ahead of the game.
Yeah, I think we go back to sort of like business 101 with some of this stuff, and we go, if we go and say like, what is the thing that is like truly defensible? And I think we go, okay, Morgan Stanley and Goldman and JP Morgan and a number of these financial institutions, they clearly have like kind of real institutional capabilities that are very hard to replicate. Whether it's like private markets access, whether it's sort of their kind of underwriting capabilities, their sort of asset management capabilities, like all of these things are like really hard to replicate. I think then when you look at some of these other businesses where they are kind of, where is the institutional capability? The institutional capability comes from their ability to at scale manage operations, deal with lots of PDFs and forms, and they've built the kind of the human capacity to be able to sort of chunk through that data. And then they've added the advice layer and sort of like the sort of like the regulated capability on top of that. And I think the point that I'm making is that sort of for those institutions, like the moat historically has been just the scale and breadth and the operational capabilities to do this stuff. And what we're seeing now is actually AI eclipsing a point where, well, like all of that stuff, which wasn't a core like capability that you built as IP as an organization, like that's all going away. Like everybody, that's going to be table stakes, and everybody is going to have access to the ability to kind of chunk through these documents and things like that. You're not going to have teams of hundreds of people kind of doing that stuff. I think the point I'm making is sort of the like when that happens, so which organizations are actually like set up and tooled in a way that they can actually take advantage of it. And based on speaking to a lot of these organizations, like there is a marked difference in capability and sophistication in the ones sort of who have the ability to do this and those who don't. And I think that the segment of people who don't is larger than we think it is.
So with Clove, then what's the when you're going to a client and you're trying to sell it, is it very much like that? Is it like we need to do this, otherwise it's like an existential risk to the business?
Yeah, so we actually started in thinking about Clove as a B2B product.
Yeah.
We thought about it in the context of like we're going to go to these sort of firms and we're going to help them retool. And then, quite frankly, we, after speaking with a number of these sort of advisory firms, kind of on the smaller end, granted, we came to the realization that like there isn't, in a lot of them, there isn't a strong desire to get better. There isn't a strong desire to actually be more efficient. A lot of these businesses are quite old. They've been owned by the same people for many decades. Actually, sort of, they're thinking about succession rather than how do they reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
So very quickly, like before founding Clove, we decided that our route was to go full stack and kind of build our own advice firm brick by brick from the ground up and go direct to consumer, rather than sell sort of picks and shovels kind of to people in the existing space. And one of the things that we realized along that journey was actually like the massive efficiency gain that kind of we're going to get. You can kind of use in two ways. You can either use it to service the same kind of clients that this industry has always been serving, i.e. those who have already made a bunch of money and have a ton of liquid wealth to be managed. And you can do that sort of 5 or 10 times sort of more profitably because you've ripped out a bunch of operational kind of overhead. Or you can use that to reduce the threshold at which people can get personalized, regulated, one-to-one sort of advice. Instead of there being a £500,000 sort of in liquid asset minimum for having a conversation, Like maybe we can reduce that to 25K or 50K and give them the same level of personalized sort of like one-to-one service by having that kind of operational overhead taken away. So that's the direction that we focus in. So let's go direct to consumer, and rather than like let's compete in the trenches for the same customer that everybody else is going after, which is the slightly younger person who happens to have more liquid assets, sort of thus they will be a customer for longer. Let's capture those people 15 years earlier in their journey where they're still accumulating kind of that money, but historically kind of the operational infrastructure hasn't been such and the cost to serve each client has been so high that kind of we have to wait until they have more assets. So that's where we're focused is really on sort of this roughly like 60% of global wealth exists between people who have less than this minimum traditionally of working with a wealth manager or a financial advisor is, which is somewhere around the 250K mark. About 60% of assets kind of are held by people who have less than that amount. So they've been entirely excluded from the system before, and that's where we're focusing.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because in the piece it says Paul Manduka, chair of SJP, said told the FT that the stock price move was surprising and almost certainly an overreaction. Face-to-face advice is in high demand in a fast-changing world, he said. And that's just so funny because it's just a clear like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Like it's, we're doing the same thing that we've been doing for the last, whatever probably 50 years or whatever however long they've been going.
And I
think I think he's right in some context. I think that like the bit that he's right about is that there is absolutely kind of a need for people to be involved in helping 100%. People make the biggest decisions of their life around money. Like the thing that it misses is that all of the other sort of stuff that happens behind the scenes to enable that person. Like the average advisor spends about 70% of their time not talking to clients, like on administrative tasks and sort of in Excel models and shuttling information between systems. Mm-hmm. Like all of that needs to go away.
Yeah, I for me it seems like, and I think that recent article, Matt Schumer, and I think it's like alluded to in the article a little bit here, the one that went viral where it's like there's something big is happening. It went mega viral on X recently, basically warning the non-native tech people about AI in a sense. Yeah. And like, I know he's been very open with the fact that he wrote it with AI. I think it amassed like something like 54 million views, which is like obviously impressive. But part of it that sort of rang true for me, which is mentioned in the article, is the fact that it's almost, he mentions that he's trying to say, this is a warning because it's already happened to us in a way where, we were sort of like, nobody thought that the first job to like maybe be impacted would be like software engineers. But, a lot of people come out now and say, 90% of our code is done with Claude Code. So that's where I thought it would be, interesting from that particular perspective, because it's almost like, hey guys, like honestly, this has just happened to us and it's massive. It will come for you all in 1 to 5 years.
And I think that's the thing. It's like, it's very, unless you've lived it, it's very difficult to perceive of a world where this thing where you've only ever known it take 20 or 30 hours to do suddenly takes an hour or 30 minutes. And it's such a shift that I just don't think like these institutions are prepared for that.
Yeah. So what, like with the stocks that we see now, right? We're looking at major corporations, SaaS in particular, down. Do we see them come back up? Like the revenue metrics haven't really been hit. It's more just the voting system has changed slightly in terms of people are speculating on the fact that they don't have a defensibility aspect to their product, right? But like the numbers still, like, that classic saying, like the company hasn't changed. Like, do we see like a rebound here at all? Or, cause I know they're trying, like Salesforce, for example, kind of rebranded to Agentforce to capture, the narrative at least, right?
I think that the broader sell-off that we see is possibly kind of an overcorrection, and I think that this is where this all gets really confusing. Is like kind of we're seeing this sort of broadly be applied to a number of different kind of companies and industries and things like that. And I think it's important for us to go like back to basics and say service-heavy organizations that aren't prepared and tooled for the massive change in the way that service organizations are going to be run, like I think very warranted. I think the defensibility of software companies and SaaS and so forth I think is a broader question. Like, I think we can all acknowledge that kind of building a CRM or some tool is easier today than it was 10 years ago with the tools that we have available to us. Distribution is still really hard. Like, I think if you look at a Salesforce or some of these other companies and you say, like, what is Salesforce the best in the world at? Like, would you say that they are the best in the world at building software? Like, possibly. It's good software and people buy it, but actually they've been incredibly good at mobilizing a sales force and distribution and event driven and field marketing and building a brand and sort of all of this stuff. And obviously how companies need to think about those things in an AI world and in an agentic world changes as well. But there are some fundamental pieces there where, like, those parts of that business haven't changed. And sort of there's real value in that. And that was probably arguably for the longest time the thing that they were the best in the world at, is like kind of doing outbound sales. It's kind of in the name. Like, so I think that this is where kind of some nuance comes in, and we have to go, if everything went down by 15%, like the reason that everything individually went down by 15%, or why some of those dips are warranted versus others are probably kind of overreactions. Like, I think we have to apply a little bit of nuance there.
Yeah, and it's always super sensitive, right? Like when DeepSeek released their first model, the whole market crashed, which was nuts. Like, that was just a fire sale and everything, and it was back up after like 3 or 4 days.
Exactly.
So yeah, I hear that.
We will all see. If we could all predict what the stock market was going to do tomorrow with perfect accuracy, I think anybody would need to be on this.
So true. Christian, we are over time. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back on anytime. No, our pleasure.
Can't wait for your next FT appearance.
Yeah, we'll be here waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll send you some hats. I think there's a Clove one missing from that shelf. So.
Yes, please do. We'd love that.
And we'll get you one as well.
Good stuff. See you soon.
Thanks, guys. Speak to you soon.
All the best.
Next on the show,
Christian.
we have Andreas Helbig, straight in, hopefully. Andreas.
Oh, he's right
Andreas,
here.
Can you hear us?
Hey, boys. How's it going?
Very good, very good. How are you?
Very good. Can't complain.
Dude, so good to
Sorry,
see you.
we're a bit late, 2 minutes over. I know you've got to shoot at 12 on the dot. But yeah, we were obviously just talking to Christian about everything. So he was featured in that FT article as well. And it's interesting to get the two sides. Obviously, he was saying that it's kind of the dip is warranted, and you kind of have a different stance to that. So maybe, yeah, off the back, just like what's your stance and why,
and yeah, we can go from there.
I mean, it was quite a funny article because I spoke to Tim, I think, from the FT like last minute before he already sent it to his editor, and then kind of the only thing that made it in was a statement like it's really hard to vibe code a bank, and then someone like on Twitter there was someone who did it over the weekend. But
I saw that
was
tweet.
kind of the one thing that got attention. I can come back to that in a second, but I think my broader sense is that I think in the short term, we're overestimating in the short term of what AI can do, and we're underestimating what it can do in the long term. Like right now, the implications that we're seeing with Claude Code, all of the stuff that you guys had just talked about, I think they're all real. But it's not just about actually delivering the code, right? Like building a company, building a bank, building a financial institution is more than just delivering a core banking system that kind of tracks money in and outflows and kind of is a ledger on top of all of the transactions that are happening. It's also, I mean, there's other bits on the technology side, right? Like connections to payment rails, etc. There's also building consumer trust, right? Like Christian just spoke about distribution. I think that's the same case as well for banks. And it's about just like being regulatory compliant, as boring as it sounds. But if you're a financial institution, there's a very good reason for why you actually should be doing that. So building a bank is just a lot more than just getting some code in place. And I think therefore in the short term, we probably have a little bit of an overcorrection. But in the long term, I mean, it's pretty amazing what these tools can do. And Simon, who was then texting me on Twitter, like, "Hey, I built this vibe coding core banking ledger in just a weekend." It's pretty damn impressive that one can do this these days. This was completely impossible, like just even a year ago. And so, I mean, a year ago, Lovable literally had just raised a Series A, and so just the speed of how things are happening is unprecedented. I think the current state of AI coding automation or vibe coding or whatever you call it is the worst it'll ever be. So I think in the long run, it's going to be pretty interesting on what's going to happen.
So I saw that tweet. The guy replied, he goes, "Hey, saw this. Respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
I'm CTO of a bank, was part of the original Monzo team, built this in a weekend, fully functional toy bank core." I saw you asked him for a call. Did he ever?
He replied. He did reply. He also said he's backed by fantastic investors, and he's also based in Singapore. And he's not building this toy bank was a bit more of a project for him, and he's actually building Pave. So he's actually doing something else that's not quite in scope. But I still want to lock him down for a call just to understand how he did it. That's more for my personal education, so it might not be his highest priority. But I guess it also shows you around, like, hey, like if you're in traditional media, and if you're like one statement gets caught, and it was quite a catchy statement. I was really proud of myself in that moment. Yeah, like, cool statement. There we go. But then of course it's not a particularly nuanced statement, and so I'm happy to be on the record with you guys to show a bit more thought than just this one statement.
No, our pleasure, dude. And it's funny you met, like, I know that there's a lot of, I wouldn't call it damage being done or anything, because it's just the market reacting to, I guess, fear of the future in a way, for some of these bigger SaaS players. Yeah. But what you say, when you see, I can't vibe code a bank. I think it recently came out that Lovable recently switched their CRM to HubSpot, and I just think that in itself kind of shows the fact that maybe people are slightly overreacting. Like, you can't, like, there are loads of things you have to consider when you're rolling out maybe HubSpot, for example. To, I don't know how many people work at Lovable, maybe like 1,000.
You're never gonna reduce the weight of, like, network effects in a business. Like, never. Like, as Christian said a few minutes ago, he was like, think about go back to, like, business basics, and yes, you can vibe code a thing that works as well as a HubSpot, but yeah, have you built everything else around it? Have you created those things? Have you failed and then rebuilt to be able to solve this problem, whatever? Like, that's the true kind of true value in a HubSpot.
I mean, CRM fundamentally is like if you would really strip it down to its very core, it's a database with a bunch of custom fields.
Yeah.
So, like, which stage is it in, and then there's a bit of UX on top, right? Like, I mean, if that's your definition of a CRM, I think you can probably vibe code that in a couple of minutes. But I mean, HubSpot has all of the marketing integrations, and not trying to deliver a sales pitch for them now, but they have all of the marketing integrations, and they have the trust, they have the brand. It also just works out of the box, right? And it's an age-old concept in business, right? Like, I can also grow my own potatoes at home, but it's just more efficient for me to go to the store and buy them.
Nice, that's good.
Yeah, that should be in the article.
and now it's much easier to grow potatoes, right? Like, if you will, but that doesn't mean that. I mean, it's a sliding scale, right? Like, it's not black or white. For some folks, it is more efficient to do that. But I mean, like, large enterprises, they had internal IT teams building internal tools forever, and still they bought software. Not always, and sometimes they build stuff themselves, and now there's probably more empowerment to do things internally. But so I think we're moving on the sliding scale, but I don't think it's black or white.
Yeah, I do always think that, like, those sort of centers of excellence that are usually in these, like, massive companies where someone's like, oh no, we're not going to buy that, like, cutting edge tool because we have our own in-house team. And, like, traditionally that's always been like, oh, okay, so, like, come on, how good and how quick are they going to be able to move, right? Like, how, are they going to be cutting edge? So I don't know. I'm always outsourcing.
But I think there's a big element as well, right? Like, when we see, like, lots of vertical AI also within our portfolio, one thing that we are quite excited about these days is, I mean, the reality of, like, these massive enterprise integrations also for vertical AI is you need to understand your customer. You need to sit with them. You need to understand their objectives. You need to build alongside them. And that's why this FDE motion, rightfully so, right? Like, it's very much on vogue these days, because you can just deliver things that otherwise wouldn't be possible before. If you solve the hard things, if you solve complexity, if you solve requirements management, objectives, writing down user stories, etc. All across enterprises. That's pretty sticky. And it's much harder thing to do than just quote unquote to deliver the code.
Yeah. Interesting. So like, we asked Christian the same question towards the end of this conversation, but what happens to these stocks now? And I'm not saying, Andreas Helbig has a,
give me the
crystal ball.
yes, please.
I've not got like bags of.
If I would be working, then I would be working in a hedge fund.
Yeah, we'd be in Wall Street
investing in like an illiquid asset class, early stage. Yeah.
So
Andreas, where do the stocks go?
But what? No, I'm not saying that with like I've got loads of bags of cash here and I'm ready to go and run down to the bank. But like, what's your take on? Do we see? Because the same thing, like Salesforce make 40 billion a year. They do 850 million a week in revenue. Like nothing's changed with regards to that. They have existing contracts that are worth more than some companies' Series C rounds. Like. It's nuts, and they are fully integrated into basically. Imagine ripping out Salesforce at a 10,000 person company and replacing it with something. It would be super hard, let alone something that someone internally vibe coded. And to layer that on as well, like no one ever gets fired for buying Salesforce. Like the person internally at Salesforce who says, "Guys, I've vibe coded this other thing, and we're gonna rip it out. I'm gonna use this." Like their head is on the chopping block. It's not a place that you want to...
I mean, that's what people said about IBM, right? Like 5, 10, 20 years ago, like nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. Nowadays, you would get fired for buying IBM.
That's true.
So like this, that's what I mean, right? Like, and I think in the short to midterm, right? Like it's absolutely right what you're saying. I think AI is just one part of this sell-off, right? Like I think there's a general frustration is my sense with these large software companies doing stock-based compensation. And if you include that, then they're actually not particularly profitable. And then basically the question is like, okay, so you guys are claiming that you just have a fundamentally great business with high gross margins, but it doesn't really translate into high free cash flow. So why should we give you like a premium multiple in the first place? So I think there's also like a little bit of that like frustration with profitability that does play a role, and that is probably right. And it's a bit of an execution question. I mean, many of these software companies were raised for better and for worse by VCs, right? Like with lots of money being available. So changing some of these like fundamental structures around profitability culturally inside of these companies is a hard thing. And I think there's also just a general disappointment with many of these larger software players and their roadmap, right? Like you can call it agent force, but when we spoke to, and we're gonna announce an investment later on this week that are in a vertical competing actually with Salesforce. And we spoke to one of their clients, and what they said, the Salesforce AI is basically it's telling us to write a message to our customer on their birthday, and it kind of pre-drafts the message for us. We've kind of been doing that for the last 100 years. There's nothing really AI, nothing really magical about it. And I think so. There's also, rightfully so, frankly, a disappointment with the aggression and with the pace of the product roadmap for many of these larger incumbent SaaS players, and I understand that.
Yeah. I mean,
especially when things are moving so quickly, and then you have this like legacy player that's not really doing much.
I just don't think they're
just like acquiring different companies. Yeah. That's it.
The strategy is just buy. Like they bought Convergence. I worked at Convergence. I worked at Salesforce for a month as part of the AI, obviously the go-to-market team. I'm not technical, but like, I mean, there are stories that I should probably share with you over a beer offline. But the reality of the situation is they're very, very large, and it's very, very hard to quickly change. And like Mark did a brilliant job with capturing the narrative. He literally turned around one day and announced, "Hey, we're doing Agent Force. I'm carving out, 15, 20% of the company to focus on this thing, and it's going to get all of our internal focus, all of our internal resources." And that's probably
Salesforce probably a better example of how deeply they've leaned into this for being such a large incumbent.
Dude, it's like a Facebook Meta rebrand, like not as large scale, but like internally the company is basically just Agent Force. Like everyone just works on Agent Force, and I think that's unfortunately the best shot they kind of have. I think in the short term and midterm, it's to like publicize. And maybe this comes back to what you're saying. They are great marketers, they're great salesmen, but it's to quickly pivot and show the market that hey, we are listening, and we're going to wait maybe a year or two before the tech can catch up.
Yeah. And I think that's, as a reason to exist as a company, right? Like as a company, you exist because you solve problems, and code and delivering the product is a very important piece to it, but it's also distribution, it's regulatory, it's integrating into the wider landscape. Like there's so many more things to being a business. Enrico, I see you on the screen.
There he is.
I didn't know you guys can see each other. That's so funny. Wait, you can both, Andreas and Enrico, you can...
But Andreas is live and Enrico's not yet.
Oh, so I guess can't see Enrico.
Yeah, I guess like, what's going on?
I can see him already on the screen. We used to work together when we were both at Project 8, so we know each other.
Yeah.
Well,
no way. Let's go. Look at
Sorry
this.
for crashing. The link said dial in at your scheduled time.
Yeah, sorry, we're overrunning. We just can't get enough of Andreas over here.
No worries. I was listening live on Twitter. So Andy, keep going.
You guys, you run the show. Let me know if I should jump off for the.
we can't put you both on, so one of you has to.
One of you has to go.
Keep going for as long as you want.
No, it's okay. We have to bring you on for we have our schedule here. Andreas, thank you so much for joining us. We have overrun, and we're eating into Enrico's interview, which you're very polite about, Enrico.
Sorry.
I must say. No, you don't need to apologize. Andreas, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
We appreciate it.
Seamless handover to Mr. Mellis. Thank you, guys.
That's how we do it.
Let's go.
That's how we do it.
See you soon.
Cheers, dude.
Well, next on the
Okay.
show, as everyone knows, is Enrico Mellis. How's it going?
It's the
Hey
bad
guys,
boy.
I didn't need to crash Andy. I didn't need to crash.
No, it was
said on the link dial in when at the scheduled time. I figured there's like a waiting room where I'm not.
No.
The waiting room is live on ETN.
You are on time. We'd run slightly over by a minute with Andreas, so that's our fault. Enrico, you have some news. You've already dropped.
Yeah,
the news.
exactly.
You want to tell us about it?
How should I start about this? Yeah, so the last 4 years I was a partner at Legora. I was leading the early strategy and my own investment firm. It's called Animal Syndication Company. And what I do is basically, instead of raising a fund and investing from that, I raise individual SPVs per investment that I do. And I basically find the perfect angels and investors for a founder. So basically, I adapt who's investing to what the founder says the business needs and what I think also could help the founder. And I started this under the surface in November. I became a venture partner at Legora. I'm still covering my 12 boards. And then since November, I've done the first 4 SPVs now. The 5th one is in the making since yesterday. And off to a good start.
Let's
Awesome.
go.
Tell me about the process of doing this, because deal by deal is known to be pretty tough. You want to make sure you don't want the rep of like, oh, we can't in the founder community, like, oh, we can't raise the money that we say that we're going to raise. How is that?
So so far, I mean, thank God, nothing has gone wrong.
Nice.
The SPV that we have already announced yet, which was an investment in Peak AI's Series A,
Cool.
that
Nice.
was $1 million in volume. Took us about a little more than 2.5 weeks to raise. I mean, obviously, the greater the company and the more obvious, the obviously great the company is, the easier it is to convince investors. So obviously, Marius's work helped me more than my talents of persuasion. But so far it has worked. Another deal that I did that I can't yet announce because I think it's closing in 2 days, and they'll probably go to press a week after or something. That was a 500K SPV, and I raised it in something like 9 hours. So that went really quick. And usually it depends a little bit on who you're looking for and how who the founder needs. I've been working with one where I think the founders could really help, use the help of some veterans of industry, and I didn't have those available in the Rolodex. So I got going and I started, cold outreaching to people, warm outreaching to people. I'll figure out a way. I think that's kind of like the business model. So in a way, yeah, it's hard. On the other hand, I'm not sure if you've tried to raise a fund, but it's also hard. So I think it's hard, and I'd rather do it this way than the other way.
That's cool.
I can imagine it's
Is that fairly different to someone who's either raising a fund or not? Like, I feel like more people go down the fund route. Is that right?
I'd say so. I think the obvious problem with the SPV model is you don't have management fee, right? Like, I don't get a salary on the money that I've raised. I just literally get the carry returns when they come, which it makes me pretty aligned with the founders. It makes me pretty aligned with the angels. They don't have the feeling that I'm just playing a volume game, which makes me wealthy no matter how the companies are doing. I invest my own money in every deal, so obviously there's the full alignment. On the pro side, obviously, when there's an exit, it doesn't get pooled into a fund, and then there's a hurdle rate and all that. But like the returns come pretty much immediately. So I think that's there's the bet, right? Like that's where you can read the bet out. I'm trying to get distributions back from investing really well just before my own money runs out. That's pretty much it.
But what was like the philosophy to start this? Because I'm sure like we spoke ages ago, right? When we first got introduced, it's quite a while ago now. But it sounded like you had a lot on your plate anyway. Like, what was the philosophy and thought process for starting something that's deal by deal syndicate?
Yeah, so I think the main reason that I started doing this is also because I sense there's a bifurcation of what venture capital is and who the product's built for. I think that a 15 billion Andreessen Horowitz fund is kind of showing you where the market is headed. On the top end, it's people raising bigger and bigger funds, basically also for different LPs, right? The endowment funds, the really large institutional LPs like pension funds, etc. Essentially what they expect you to do is to not fuck it up and give them something like a 2x over the 10 plus 1 plus 1 years that the fund time is running, and that's fine. It's not that attractive for a founder who has exited his company previously, or like a smaller family office, or from athletes to celebrities, like whatever you name it, basically private individuals who invest in the asset class. For them, I think it's significantly less exciting, and I think also for founders, it gives you something very different, right? Like I think there's a very large institution investing in you, and especially at the early stage, that can I think feel a little daunting because you're not one of like 25 portfolio companies like it used to be in the cottage industry days, but now you're one of hundreds, and that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, but it leaves a gap for something else, right? And I think that over the past years, I've been working with angels quite a lot. I've been building syndicates with angels also previously, and the founder NPS was the thing that struck me the most. People, like founders that we worked with, came back and they were like, "You guys are so helpful. This really moved the needle on XYZ, whatever it is, go to market, or you made an intro that we didn't even know. You opened a door that we didn't even know existed, right?" So I felt that it really it works for founders really well because you kind of tailor who invests to their business rather than just being, this is the pension fund money that we've raised, take it or leave it. That's what you get, right? Like the fund is a static instrument that basically hasn't changed in 40 years or so, probably. And the SPV is basically, I can adapt it to whatever the founders need, and that might be something very different at pre-seed versus something in Series A. And I think the reason why I'm doing this is because I think it's just differentiated. I think it provides a different type of value, and there will be founders who probably say no to that for whatever reason, right? But I think that so far I've convinced really exceptional people that I think I can bring them money from really exceptional people who then invest and also feel directly invested and not just pooled over a fund in a blind pool where it's maybe spread across 20, 30, 40, 60, 80 investments. But this is the thing I've picked. I'm going to be available also when the founder calls me on a Sunday, because I've decided to put my own hard-earned 50K into this, or 25K, or whatever the ticket was. They're going to be available. They're going to be emotionally involved. And I think that we have to admit that fact. I don't think a lot of people invest in the VC asset class to get rich quick. I think a lot of people just do it because they love the ecosystem, they love the hustle, they love to work with entrepreneurs, the David versus Goliath, the exciting technologies. If you want to just lock your money away for 12 years and get a 2x return, maybe you should just buy an ETF and sit it out. And I think a lot of people see it that way nowadays, and I kind of felt that this product is kind of addressing that really well.
Yeah, I think that's such an awesome take. It kind of leads me on to a question that I wanted to ask about your thesis of like choosing the right investors for the founder. How do you go about that? What's the the thing, obviously, you can do the classic of like, oh, the investor's been in the same industry that the founder's been in and can intro people. But are there any other nuanced things that you kind of want to like look for in an investor for a particular type of deal, and how you kind of go about it when you're pitching to that investor and say, hey, look, this is a great investment for you, not just because of the returns, but then also because of the founder and what they're doing and why you can help specifically?
Yeah, there's I'll just make examples because there's a spectrum of things you can do, but I think one example, consumer company, you want to bring somebody who's a well-known celebrity in the target market, not to put their face on the box, because that's very different deals, right? Typically they're higher volume and they involve management and stuff like that, and that makes it complicated. But like a very well-known, well-connected celebrity who's really interested in the thing can, just by calling people, open doors for you that other people just can't open.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had this thing where even in a B2B business, in a software business, a celebrity that that I got involved kind of picks up the phone, calls the CEO of a really large international bank. The guy picks up in like 20 seconds because obviously like somebody famous is calling, not just some business contact. And he goes like, okay, like how can I help? And like, hey, I'm working with a startup. They need a meeting. 20 minutes later, it was set. Like, this is something that, very few VCs can do. It's like very few angels can do. You need like that specific person because only that specific person can actually do that. Another example is, especially with young founders, it can help to have more experienced founders as angels, like people. I mean, I think that's an obvious one, but I think an example that has a little bit more nuance that I can talk about is, especially in markets where, like nowadays, VC money is ubiquitous and like you can basically find it around every corner. I have the feeling bringing in a founder who's gone the bootstrap route and like hasn't drunk all the Kool-Aid about VC can be really helpful to have on your board, because they just think about it in a different way, right? Like they just reconsider. They help you reconsider certain things. Like, hey, you're getting amazing traction with VCs, but do you think your market is big enough to sustain that? Do you maybe want to wait for more signals to come around, more milestones to figure out what you really want and like how big this business should be? Like, take a step back and like think about this, because like the answer might still be raise a truckload of money and just go for the decacorn thing, but maybe it's not the right way. So having somebody who has gone that way, who has scaled to like 1,000 employees without a single dime externally, that can be really helpful. And there's hundreds and hundreds of like shades of angel basically that you can bring in. It's just you have to combine them in the right way for the founders to be useful.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That must be really fun. What is it like? What for you is like? Where's the North Star here? What do the next 6 months look like? What do the next 12 months look like? Is there a goal, or is it just like this is super fun?
It is super fun, I have to say. I'm like it is just a joy to work this way. So I've started in November. I've raised something like just about 3 million in across 4 SPVs. The 5th one will push it over that line. If I keep going at that pace and I deduct the time that Christmas was and I was taking it slow for a week or two, I think I can deploy something like 10 to 15 million sensibly across something like 20-ish deals, right, in the year. And I think that's a reasonable number for me to carry alone as a person, because I don't want to get into that dynamic where I'm trying to deploy a certain fund size, right? Because I don't have those pressures. If I don't see something that excites me for 3 months, like, nope, I don't think that anybody's going to call me and be like, dude, like, what are you getting management fees for? Because I don't, right? I can just say, if I don't find something that interests me, I'm not going to invest, because I do act like an angel ultimately. It is my own money that I'm putting into each investment. So if I have the feeling that I'm not really believing in something, I don't need to do it. But given the deal flow that I'm seeing and the quality and the founders and the way they excite me, I think that seems like a reasonable number for this year. And then I'll figure out how. Sorry, somebody calling at the worst time possible. And then let's see after that. I think. I mean, if I can deploy that type of volume, I think maybe I'll never have to change that, because it's a really nice thing for me to do. Maybe I'll bring in another partner at eye level, like just an equal partner basically, and then maybe it makes sense to do double, but have a little operational leverage because you're two people. There's less bus risk, like currently if I'm sick for a day, I'm currently sick for a day. Like I don't have a colleague currently except, Claude. But Claude is, Claude is a promising analyst. Is not the best analyst I've ever worked with.
Claude might deploy 15, 20 million a year.
That'd be risky. Dude, we are at time, but
Fantastic.
thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute blast, and you know where to come if
I'm
you have any
excited
updates.
to hear about the updates, dude. This is awesome. I love it.
I'll send some updates over as soon as I can announce them.
Yeah, send some juice. It'd be cool.
Legend.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Cheers,
Awesome
dude.
show.
Always good to chat.
And I hope you saw the cap here in the background.
Oh, no way.
This guy.
Oh,
Yeah. Is that in the back of every
call?
call?
See, because it's
Let's
cut.
go.
Yeah. Here.
I love it.
Let's go.
Authentic.
We're at the
Guys,
ETN cap.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. See you
Ciao.
soon.
Bye-bye.
That was
dude,
Enrico
that was cool.
Mellis,
What a cool chat.
everybody. Just before we jump on with our next guest, I just want to tell you guys about our friends over there at Spectre. If you're with Spectre, you've got to be the reason your fund wins the deal of the decade. With Spectre at tryspectre.com, you can harness the power of live data and AI-driven analysis to outsmart the competition. Go to tryspectre.com.
You got to learn it.
You can do it off the dome, go.
No. Not yet. I can probably do the air
I can do
wallet.
Polymarket.
The air
Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com.
Only thing is you weren't looking into the camera. So
Boom,
it
I was
doesn't
looking
work.
into your eyes.
Anyway, next on the show we have Mick Hodgins. He is the GM at EMEA at Notion. Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys, yeah.
Amazing. How's it going?
It's going well. It's the first day in about 13 days that we've had no rain in Dublin, so no biblical deluge today, which is always good. How are you guys doing?
Only
Love to hear
13
it.
days. I think it's maybe the first day or maybe the second day we've not had rain all year in London. I think it's rained every day since
I'm
Jan.
really sorry for bringing us into a weather podcast, but that's not out of the way. We can talk about agents.
No, we love to
No, we
start
love
off.
talking about weather. We hate agents. They're just, talk about them all the time.
Yeah, we hate that stuff. But Mick, thank you for joining us. We've been pumped about this conversation. I know we've been setting it up for a couple of weeks now. Thank you for coming on the show. It's first person from Notion we've had on.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
This will be the first of many.
I hope so. It's a tool that has throughout my whole professional career, which is admittedly only about 3.5-4 years. It's a tool that I've been using heavily. So it's a pleasure to sit down with you today. I guess maybe for the stream, our previous interviews have been a little bit rushed because we were late coming on today. But could you maybe just give you an introduction as to who you are and what your role is specifically, like GM of EMEA? I'd love to break that down. And yeah, we can get into it.
Sure. So look, I'm the GM in EMEA for Notion, and my responsibilities are to run the operations, lead the operation and growth in the region. So we're scaling up across EMEA. We just opened new offices and new hubs in London, Munich and Paris last year, and we're ready to go big.
Nice. And maybe it's worth talking about your new hubs and the thesis behind it. You guys are really pushing into Europe, which is really cool. Obviously, being on ETM, we want to talk about Europe. What's the thesis behind it? Where do you see the growth coming from? And yeah, we'd love to get you.
Wait, why those three as well? I'm keen to hear that.
Sure. Look, those three, it's pretty simple. Like the biggest opportunity, biggest TAM. They're really important beachheads for us to push into the rest of Europe and the rest of EMEA. You got the best talent pools for going up market and dealing with enterprise customers. So just in terms of the thesis behind it, it takes a lot to go and lead EMEA expansion. Like there's no doubt about it. But if you want to really be a global company, you have to win EMEA. Mm-hmm. And Notion's always been, from a user perspective, an international company. 80% of Notion's users are outside of the US. So that international footprint has always been there, and it's always been opportunistic for us to go and try and build on that. And I think, opening up the hubs, building teams, you've got to be really, really careful when you're moving from a product-led growth to a sales-led growth motion, that you don't sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? You've had these incredible motions, these incredible products and solutions and marketing campaigns that have got you to where you are. But, being that generational company means you've got to bet really big on sales, and you have to bet big on marketing. So from our perspective, we were thinking, okay, we got this great sort of startup scale up community and set of customers, and we want to continue to do great work with them. But if we're really going to accelerate, enterprise needs a strong sales focus. So that means getting into the market with great talent, with great boots on the ground. That's why we opened the hubs, major economies, major talent pools, really good startup ecosystems in all of the cities that I mentioned. And it means that we're also closer to the customers who need our touch. We've invested in enterprise readiness alongside opening up the hubs so that we can go and meet those large customer needs and try and reduce adoption friction, because AI is changing the game. We're driving a hell of a lot more simplicity and pace in terms of acquisition and onboarding, but we still need to have that human touch if you're going to win really, really, really big logos. And I've been listening to the show earlier on. I think it's pretty clear that all of us realize that the AI world isn't going to wait for anyone, right? You got to build teams fast, spread across EMEA, anchor in Dublin, and go into those new markets with a really, really clear perspective, a local accent, and a really clear point of view.
Yeah, that's awesome. It reminds me so much of when we spoke to Des Trainer at Intercom. And the line that has stuck with me was like you either correct your company or the market corrects it for you. And I think now, especially like you just mentioning that, right, that we are kind of in that time. We discussed it earlier on the show, right? The massive drops that we're seeing in some of these SaaS companies. It sounds like Notion are being a lot more nimble. Like you guys have an AI strategy, you've already deployed it. I've used Notion's Ask AI, I think, in the platform when I was at Convergence, and I was actually blown away with how good it was early on. It was one of the first things I was using that I was pleasantly surprised with, that was embedded into an actual product as well. How does a company of Notion's size think about AI and pivoting, and because it has to stay within like the whole premise of the business, right? Like it has to be at the forefront of the business.
Yeah, and I think if you speak to our founders, they'll tell you that AI was quite serendipitous for Notion. And what I mean by that is, if you build a connected workspace and you're able to centralize knowledge, use tools like AI meeting notes when they're built to generate that knowledge and capture it automatically, automate it, assign owners, get it into your knowledge space, and you're using that connected workspace as a location where people can work together, then AI is just going to work better. That's it. It works better because it has greater context. It works better because it has a greater understanding of how humans are interacting across workflows. So understanding from day one, when I was looking at the opportunity, whether or not I should jump in and get on the Notion bus, that was the one thing that really struck me. Because I think what we're seeing out in the market at the moment, we don't know, is this a correction? We don't know if this is some paradigm shift. We do know it's something that's going to fundamentally drive a hell of a lot of change. And when there's change and transformation, there are winners and there are going to be losers. And if you want to be an AI winner, you're going to have to prove, I believe, three things. Number one, that you can monetize AI. Like, I know that's a pretty obvious thing to say, but you got to make sure that you are creating revenue from AI products and solutions. Number two, that you are accelerating customer acquisition. So those customers are coming in to acquire those AI-led solutions. And then on top of that, you got to have a really, really clear thesis. There's a lot of noise out there in the marketplace. I think if you look at Notion, last year we generated 50% of our ARR from AI products and solutions. 50%. And that number doubled over the last 12 months. So I think if you think about those first two criteria, I think we can say we're doing a pretty good job in that space. Not perfect, but we're on the right track. And then when you think about the value prop and you think about our thesis, we are literally one of the only multiplayer collaboration workspaces for knowledge workers out there. And that's what we're taking to market. We want to build on that as the middle layer, which allows us to generate like an AI factory that will allow people to eliminate busy work. It's a really, really exciting time. I think, the market's having a shakeout. There's bets, valuations are up and down. People are placing bets and having perspectives. But Our focus and the focus of any AI-enabled company that wants to lead and to win, it's got to be on just building great products, building great services, and ensuring that they meet the needs of great customers.
Nice. I love that. Notion's always been one of those companies that has this strong kind of push towards the community side of it. And I wanted to ask how you guys embed that within this push towards enterprise, and as you say, having boots on the ground in all of these major cities across EMEA. How does that community play kind of come within that? Do you kind of mix the two worlds and try to use the community play to kind of bring more enterprise clients and leads in the door, or what's the play there?
Look, I think there's a few things. The community, when I again first joined, it blew me away. Like, you got a product that has this high level of fandom, but it's a product now that has created a consultant layer from people using it and finding a way to monetize that, and we think that's amazing, because that builds out the ecosystem. We don't seek to monetize that channel. We just want really good Notion consultants building good stuff on Notion so that they can, that's all goodness for the ecosystem. It's goodness for development. I think when we look at the enterprise motion, we got to do a better job on our partner ecosystem, working with systems integrators, working with the traditional houses who are going to help us resell our product and ensure that our product is embedded correctly with the right customers at the right level. And that's something that we're really working on and we're going to double down on next year. I think the interesting thing for me about community is the community is bringing use cases to us that we haven't even thought about. And the scale at which that is happening is sort of blowing us away. So trying to ensure that we, as I said earlier, don't denigrate that. We don't diminish that in any way as we move up market is so important to us. We're working with thousands of startups and thousands of Notion consultants across all markets in EMEA, but we're also working with the Mistrals, the Synthesias, the Monzo banks, the Volvo cars of this world as well. So the product has this great versatility, and it means that we can nurture all of those channels in a really, really encouraging way.
Yeah, those are some like massive players right now as well, right? Like Synthesia, Mistral, and Lovable, probably maybe Legora in there as well. Like the most popular tech-related startup. I don't even want to call them startups anymore because I think that's an unfair description of them. Some of the hottest companies in the world as well. What's it like working with these people? How is Notion working with like so many amazing companies?
Look, it's first of all, let me zoom out a little bit. We're on a European tech podcast, right, guys? Like, European tech's in a really good place. Let's be brutally honest. Great scale-ups, great startups, not only the companies that you just mentioned. And I think our view is that we can be a real multiplier for innovation for these companies. Because you just think about the ability for us like to eliminate busy work and to create space for people to innovate. Like that in itself is a really, really important piece, we believe, of that puzzle, which will allow us to accelerate with those companies and with those organizations. But I think if you think about how these customers are actually using our products, they use our products not only as a collaborative workspace where they can just centralize knowledge, find things easier, innovate and bring companies together, but we've got several customers who are also working with us on custom agents, which are going to be released very, very soon. And they're sharing incredibly positive feedback about some of the use cases. One is a leading European fintech. I don't want to share any names at the moment because this is all still in beta and coming out soon. They're using things like meeting notes assistants for daily recaps and task generation every day, agents that are just autonomously working in the background for them. They're using agents to keep their company databases updated. So like little to no human intervention at all. Triage creative requests that are coming in externally into the system for their marketing teams. And then working with one of our French e-commerce companies, one that I found really interesting, like they're using agents as sort of a governance loop. So they have an agent use case or an agent that runs in the background and logs all of the agent logs on a database. And then they have a separate improver agent operating in the database to suggest instruction in updates and share those learnings across the other agents. So what we're really seeing with all of these innovative businesses is we're seeing builders creating agents and workflows that they're just sharing across teams. And in doing that, it's creating these sort of aha moments for people. People are like, wow, I can build that. That's quite easy for me to do. Like, I'm not the most technical guy in the world. I've got a task agent that basically tells me what to do in the morning. It's incredibly helpful. Within Notion, we've got somewhere in the region of 1,000 custom agents that are working in the background in our business, which are allowing us to do things like ask questions and get them answered from our office staff, or even have a structured sort of outbound bot that sits on our outbound motion. So it's just incredibly exciting. And it's great to work with all these organizations. They bring insights and innovation and use cases that we would never have thought about.
That's so awesome to hear. And it's I guess an opportunity for us to ask, like, you previously worked at Google, I think maybe one of the most, if not the most valuable companies in the world right now. How is it like from an enterprise perspective? Because we talk to a lot of startups, a lot of scale-ups. From large enterprise companies, we rarely do get a taste of what's happening internally, especially with their thoughts around AI and their strategies around AI. What are the feelings? And I'm sure you still have a lot of sort of senior enterprise colleagues as well, that are particularly working on this function or at that level. What is the thought process generally for large enterprise companies when it comes to AI today? Like, are they worried? Are they happy that it's here? Are they sort of scrambling? What's the thesis?
I think there's a bit of FOMO. Let me be honest.
Interesting.
I think there's a realization from large organizations that this is a piece of technology that's going to be so transformative. You have to be leading from the front. And I would break them down, I think, large enterprises into those companies that are tech forward, tech native, and the companies that are more traditional and enduring. Yeah. So tech forward, tech native, you mentioned some of those organizations already that have become really, really big enterprises really quickly. And, AI is just a native thing for them. So they're adapting it to their own needs. They're testing it. They're not committing to any one large language model at the moment because it's just too risky to place all your bets on one leader or on one innovator and in one basket. And then for the enduring companies, I think it's more a case of trying to understand that entry use case where AI can drive value, and also not only drive value, but use that as a learning experience so that can integrate that into a more strategic view. And it's different, but the thesis is pretty simple. AI is going to enable the acceleration of automation in organizations. It's going to change the way that people work together. And at Notion, from our perspective, we think we've got something pretty unique that will allow us to be a pioneer in the way that work changes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm trying to think where else can we send people, right? Like, where can we point our listeners and viewers for the Notion release? You mentioned you guys have been working a lot on agents. You mentioned that something's coming up in a couple of weeks. Can we hear maybe like a touch more on what's being planned and what's coming out?
I'd love to, but I can't. But just watch this space. It's just around the corner. It's going to be really, really exciting. And all will be revealed in the not too distant future, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's me. That's me looking for scoops live on air. So you have to forgive me.
We say to our guests normally we don't look for scoops because that's not. What
we've had a few. Who was it? Someone, Nick at Attio, broke an embargo exclusive on the show, which was quite funny. But he knew he was doing it and said, "I'm about to break an embargo."
Yeah, look, I'm Nick, not Nick. So just for clarity, I think like a little bit of an escape mechanism there.
Yeah, it's whenever someone names ends in ick, we just say, "Hey, give us the embargoed release."
That's it. But sometimes I'm occasionally referred to as Mitch, so I have to live with that one as well, guys.
It's okay. At least we got the name right. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. We are coming to time. It's been a pleasure. Please keep us updated, and when the release comes out, we'd love to have you back on the show as well.
Yeah, I'd love to, and it's been great, guys. I love what you're doing, and thanks for having me on.
Anytime. Appreciate your time, Mick. Thank you. Bye.
Yes, bye.
Ciao, ciao. Up next, we have Alexander Chikhanov, general partner at Verb Ventures. That was Mick Hodgkins, GM of EMEA at Notion.
Indeed. What a cool guy. Love it. Anyway, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate accounts, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com.
Nice.
Big
That was a
into
good one.
Yeah.
That was a real good one.
I'm good. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com.
He's on a roll. He's on an ad roll right now. Not an ad read, an ad roll. Okay, some news maybe. Have we got time?
Yeah, let's go. We got 5.
We got 5. Okay, we can do OpenClaw super quick. Not super quick. Let's take
There's
our
always
time.
Always OpenClaw news.
This one was nuts, to be honest. There were signs for people who were in the know. I didn't see them. People were speculating that it was as soon as...
I love how this was covered in the FT.
Yeah. I love that as well. People were speculating that this happened as soon as the rebrand to OpenClaw happened. That this was when Peter accepted a verbal offer from Sam.
Yeah, so apparently Zuck and obviously Samo were in his WhatsApp saying, "Hey, come and join." Join the ship.
I can't imagine
but obviously,
the numbers.
Zuck made the famous kind of acquisition of Manus a few months ago, and maybe that wasn't the right move. Maybe Mr. Peter Steinberger was the guy to go. But I'm sure he tried, but I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think Peter made the right choice going with OpenAI.
I tell you, who did make the wrong choice was Anthropic for sending
hitting him with some
with
hey, stop doing that. Yeah, it's mad that they did that. Anyway, the FT, we can get into that. The FT article opens up with OpenAI has hired Peter Steinberger, the founder of OpenClaw, as the $500 billion startup seeks to expand the ability of its artificial intelligence systems to conduct work autonomously. OpenClaw is a popular open source project that lets users create personal AI agents. Formerly known as ClaudeBot and MaltBot, it became a viral sensation over the past month by allowing users to run the software locally on their own hardware, such as a computer or laptop. And those names are obviously, like, why do we mention Anthropic? Those names, ClaudeBot, wasn't really okay. Spelled differently, CLAWD, but that wasn't really okay with the Anthropic team. They made Peter change it, well, sort of legally alluded to the fact that there would be consequences if he did not change the name, in which it was changed to MaltBot, a sort of play on the fact that it was shedding its skin, becoming a new project from Peter. A lot of people were like, dude, next time give me a shout if you're going to do any rebranding. And I remember one of the replies that went viral from that was, you try doing a rebrand for a project that's got global attention without sleeping in 48 hours and a gun to your head from Anthropic. Yeah. It's pretty gangster. But I think after that like cease and desist letter and all of the sort of legal problems with Anthropic came about, that's when the larger labs started to reach out. I mean, it's an amazing marketing thing, really, for the company.
Yeah. I mean, so Sama posted on X, I think it was over the weekend, or maybe on Sunday, he said, Peter Steinberger is joining OpenAI to drive the next generation of personal agents. He is a genius with a lot of amazing ideas about the future of very smart agents interacting with each other to do very useful things for people. We expect this will quickly become core to our product offerings. They're obviously, the narrative swings in this kind of like big tech AI world is wild. Obviously, last week with the Super Bowl ad that Anthropic released, and now this week kind of OpenAI has kind of swung back almost, or the narrative has swung the other way, saying like this is such a great play for them. I want to say that they were semi on the ropes with what was going on. The release of ads and how that didn't go down too well. Obviously Demis at Google DeepMind kind of touched on it, and it's just it's so interesting that the narrative can play with such a huge company. Like a few months ago, they were rumored to be raising $100 billion, and the fact that they're hiring one guy changes the narrative of that. Obviously he's had global attention, but remember this is like a week and a half in the making. He released it maybe 2-3 weeks ago now, 2.5 weeks ago, and it's it's wild. It's actually
gone nuts.
Just absolutely.
Yeah, the GitHub, it was like 195,000 GitHub stars, which is
easily
like
the
more than
quickest growing
their sale.
Yeah.
And who knows what the price tag is, but we can get into that a bit more after our conversation with our next guest coming up right now. I think we have Alex in the studio. We can bring him on in. This is Alexander Chikhanov, general partner at Verb Ventures. Alex, how are you? How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Today, finally, a bit of a sun in London, so really, really happy about that. So, yeah. How are you guys?
That's the second time we've mentioned that on the show today, that we actually have a bit of sun in London today, which is very, very nice. Listeners who aren't in London can probably already tell how big of a thing this is for us. So yeah, we're also buzzing about it. It's so good to have you on the show. We spoke like a week ago now, I think, before we were in Italy. It's good to finally make this happen. We're excited to jump into it. Maybe just for those who don't know what Verb Ventures is, could you maybe give an introduction as to who you are, what your role is, and also what Verb Ventures focuses on as well?
Of course. I'm Alex Chikhanov. I'm a GP at Verb Ventures, and I'm a founder of the firm. So we have a 25 million fund where we invest in the trade infrastructure. That is the software which runs and rail for the real supply chains and supply chain infrastructure. That will come as a marketplace, as a data platform, as anything what comes to help the real supply chains to happen and trade to happen. So yes, and we're on a mission on backing those beautiful businesses.
Nice, I love it. I wanted to touch firstly on sovereignty and supply chains. Obviously, you guys are very much kind of in this lane, and you believe that Europe kind of needs its own digital rails for trade. I wanted to touch on that and firstly just get your take on it. I've got a few questions.
Sure. No, of course. Look, for me, digital sovereignty in trade means an independence. You can keep operating and keep choice of switching when practical, and it's not painful. So in the practice, so whenever you do trade, so you don't need to tail towards any political tailwinds or whatever, right? So much like with what happened with rare earth when China decided to stop selling some of rare earth, and so then the prices for the chips are actually hiked. So that means for me a sovereignty, so that anyone in the trade, anyone in the business can switch effectively without the pains, without the hurdles, and be able to still procure effectively and efficiently. Another example, which is quite close to us, right? So which were quite recently, where KLM actually canceled almost 2,400 flights from the Schiphol airport because they were running out of de-icing fluid, right? So, and it's not the sort of manufacturing problem. It is only the procurement platform problem, because they couldn't find alternatives fast. But just to give you an example, 2,400 flights, that's a massive ripple effect on their company. It's massive effect because, they have to handle with the cancellations. They have to do all around the, like making sure that the people who lost their flights have to, go somewhere, do something, and etc. So it all could be avoided, by the matter of fact, by just implementing the right processes and right diversification for the supply chain, which was not done properly. And that's why at the end, they actually had to go to Germany to collect this fluid. So instead of going digital, instead of not stockpiling, but diversifying for the most efficient route, the most efficient route was just to go physically to Germany and pick up this fluid, so that to get this, planes to the air. So yeah, definitely we need more of that.
Yeah, well, it's something that has come up a lot recently. It's been making a lot of headlines. This digital sovereignty, it's something we spoke about with a bunch of people from different industries and areas. What I think a good example to start with is like, we've seen France, for example, they're saying that we're going to stop using US tools like a Zoom is I think one that they mentioned, and we want to use a French tool, a French meeting, I guess what platform instead, like a French video conferencing platform instead. Is that digital sovereignty in your head? Like my personal understanding of that situation is that that's a bad idea, because we're sort of not going to use the best in class tool because we want to be more sovereign. What does that mean? What, we're going to use the worst tools at our disposal just because they're built by people from our nation? Like,
no, I agree with you, and that's actually quite a good comment. I think you're absolutely right. There's no need for digital sovereignty, which is imposed by the government or funded by the government or the state, right? Because it's only create this ambiguity of what is really good and what is bad. Much better when this actually created by the fact of competition, that so the solutions actually compete with each other and win the customers, but not being imposed by the regulation, by anything really. And that's a really fair point. It's not only in the trade, it's also in the software and elsewhere, so because when the switch becomes from bottom up, it kills all competition. It kills any creativity. It kills an ability to actually innovate. And not necessarily the best innovative decisions get there to replace the, say, American tools or whatever. The truth is, it's never a really good idea to replace something what is imposed up top. It's much better when it's actually homegrown and when the real innovations comes from the businesses, right? So from the businesses and from the market, and there is a market pull towards this solution, and there is a there is a support for this solution, which comes in the form of funding, in the form of reasonable taxes, in the form of many other things which are coming, or came in the last probably like 15 to 20 years, which is now unfortunately changing, at least in this country. So, but like, that's for me what means in a digital sovereignty, when we are able to produce something what is real competitive on the market and globally competitive on the market. So yeah, that's my sort of view.
Yeah. No, big time. A question in this, well, it's different direction, but to what we were discussing earlier, like you've said that mentioned that why the best opportunities can lie in sectors that most people might find a little bit boring. And these are sectors like construction, aviation, parts, manufacturing, logistics. Like this is a sort of an area that you can focus on. What do you mean by that? Like why is that something that you guys are focused on?
Well, I mean, look, first of all, this sector is completely undigitized, right? So, when it comes to procurement, procurement works in the sectors, which you mentioned through the prism of, hey, we need to bring people, so to call these brokers who knows the guys who will produce this stuff for us, right? So that is, in some supply chains, that is up to 18 agents in the chain, which absolutely kills the margin, so it doesn't give you an accessibility and access towards the same market, same ability to trade, same rights practically as a producer of any service or good. But like with the business that we invest in, they're giving this ability to the small business to actually be recognized by the largest productions, by the largest brands, and do it efficiently, right? So there is a win-win situation between the smaller and the larger guys, because the smaller they get an access, and that's creation of possibilities for them. That's a really good motivation for them to work more, to work better, to innovate, to make something, to make reach to somewhere they couldn't do before, right? And for the larger businesses and their buyers who procure on such platforms, then there is a diversification, which comes again as a sovereign, diversification of the supply chains, an ability to procure efficiently. So it's a win-win situation. But guess what? So in the age where, so everyone is talking about AI, about the, new types of technologies, space tech and whatever, on occasion, we actually compete with a fax machine from 80s. These industries are still so outdated in the tech. And I mean, so yes, they're boring. Of course they're boring. But they didn't have any kind of a market push towards any updates of their tech rails. And it's going to change because of all the turmoils we've got in the last probably 6 years. It's just diminished all the previous relationship, previous connections, and etc. So, and there is a market push towards the diversification, towards the update, towards the new solutions. And that's how, for instance, some guys in our portfolio work with the like of, I don't know, Delta or Biosystems or, you name it. People who would otherwise never actually look at them before, right? So now it is possible. And that's why we're here, because we want to ditch this. We want to make them work. And we want to prepare this, large sort of markets for the next stage of industrial revolution, which is the AI, right? So because right now it's innovate or die. And if they're not that, probably they're not going to make it. So, and these platforms help them to get there.
100%. We're coming up to time, but I wanted to ask a question. You focus a lot on marketplaces, and I wanted to ask how you feel that the kind of agentic workflows will change like a marketplace. Marketplaces are kind of, obviously inherently kind of the supply and demand side is a very, it's very fragile, and you've spoken a lot about that balance between the supply and demand and why marketplaces succeed and why they might fail. And I wanted to understand how you feel that like agentic workflows might change that the way of building these marketplaces.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I think this is an evolution for those businesses, and because they're the holders of the one and most important asset in agentic flow, right? So, which is the data node. So, marketplaces are the holders of this data because this is unique, and there is no way to get there anywhere else, but in these businesses, right? Because it's proprietary. There is a transaction going on. There is so they see all of this. They keep a record of it, and as large as they get, they get this market understanding of how things work on the certain markets and how the things are, going in there. And so I think this is a natural evolution where they first build the transactional layer, then they build the supply chain layer where, so they're able to bring the logistics together, being able to push the flows, much like one of our portfolio companies, Geomic, did. And then the third layer, which is a data. And eventually it will become a data play. And eventually all those marketplaces likely will convert into something what is agentic AI on itself. Because this is only reasonable for them. Because once you have all the data, once you have all the infrastructure, once you have the transactional layer, the next thing you do is that you create the agent which will procure on its own and procure for your clients and negotiate and do all of that. And that's already happening. As I mentioned, so just one good example is one of our portfolio companies, Geomic, which already did this. And so whether this will be a trend, we'll see. But I feel it will. Because, so it's quite reasonable in a way to think that the agentic AI is kind of a next step for any marketplace out there. B2B marketplace, B2C is a bit different in what they do.
No, it's super interesting. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And
thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on, Alex.
All right.
Good stuff. Great to meet you.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, dude. Have a good one.
Thank you. Cheers.
Ciao.
You too.
Awesome stuff. Leave outdated business banking behind with OLX, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to olx.com. That was good.
Alexander Chikhanov, general partner at Verb Ventures. Everyone,
well, you just got to get it in.
We got that. I love it. Yeah, you just smashing it in there. It's all good. Next guest. This is a fun one because I am wearing the merch. Surprise, everyone! I'm wearing the merch of the next guest.
Whoa, crazy!
Hey, well, labs, look at this thing.
Yeah, it's your new favorite jacket.
I know. I took it with us to Italy, didn't I? Actually.
Yeah.
Got some wear out of it.
It was pretty chilly in Italy, and
we haven't.
You were good. You were nicely insulated, as they say.
Honestly, it's super warm. I just wish it was a tiny bit smaller.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can ask Milena.
Ask for a new one. Is that a bit rude? Sorry, Milena. She's probably already watching. But no, yeah, thank you for my merch. It's one of
send me a new jacket that you sent for free.
It's the free stuff isn't good enough. No, it is of course good enough. It's one of the we've not had like a merch thing go down in. The last one was the Nano Banana.
Yes, we do have one that we need to push out. Which I'll do today, which I keep forgetting to do. So I will do that.
Which one is that?
Well, you can't say.
Okay, interesting. Maybe you WhatsApp me. We can check it out.
That's fine. We can do it after the show. Anyway, let's move on. We have 4 minutes. Let's do some more.
Yeah, we were on
going to the town hall.
Well,
or you want to?
Let's just like I want to finish OpenClaw because we barely got into that.
Let's do it.
We have so many guests on today. I think it's like 9 guests today.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com.
Wow, that was that's getting real smooth up in here. Okay, where were we on the article? So yeah, Peter Steinberg joined OpenAI. You did Sam's quote to drive the next generation of personal agents.
He's a genius.
Sam Altman post on X on Sunday. He's also jacked. I didn't know how jacked he was. He's absolutely wham.
He's frame-mogging everyone.
I thought it was AI.
I saw a great tweet that basically said it had all the amazing words that X has come out with in the past few months, but basically saying he's been acqui-hired because Sam wants him to frame mog everyone in the office. Essentially, TLDR is what absolutely brilliant. So
I've been enjoying the. One of our titles today actually. Is using Clavicula's new verbiage.
Oh yeah, nice. He's also the he's the epitome of that meme that's like, "Hey Claude, build me $1 billion company and don't make any mistakes."
Yeah.
He has done that.
He's the most. Yeah, he's jacked.
Done it in 12 months, give or take. Well, I mean, technically, like a few months, but also 12 months ish. There's obviously things that say that I think he built 43. It was his 44th thing. Claude Bot was his 44th project that he built when he started to get building again. He took like a few years off, and he was like, "It's the hardest I've worked in 12 months." But dude, 12 months to then get acqui-hired into OpenAI is not a bad run.
He's done pretty awesome.
And stayed fairly jacked as well. He's done a gym session every day.
Yeah, he looks like he's like his GitHub contributions and his gym contributions are parallel.
He's got his value for money.
Further point from the FT article,
which he needed actually because he was spending $10,000 to $20,000 on compute.
Yeah, so
I couldn't afford the compute, but who cares? Because I've got to build the best thing in the world.
Yeah,
and he has.
So he's put on the Lex Friedman podcast. He said that it's costing him between $10,000 and $20,000 a month to run. So he's saying right now I lose cash on this right now.
Yeah.
Which is
kind of surprised me how much. Like I don't know. You'd think a guy of his caliber surely can make $20,000 a month. Just fairly.
Oh, I have no doubt in my mind.
For $100 million,
yeah, he's chilling. I have no doubt in my mind he could have monetized that if he wanted. He could have clicked his fingers and monetized. Anyone would happily subsidize that for the growth. It was like the fastest growing.
Yeah, fine.
Thing of all time, maybe I don't know. Like I've seen the graph where it's like the GitHub stars and it's just a straight line upwards. It's not even a hockey stick. It's like an L.
It's just it's just a thing that he says. To make it sound. Yeah.
Just so crazy. But yeah, and there's a thing here on Malt Buck as well, which actually the Claude, OpenClaw sort of affiliations weren't exactly affiliated with. Maltbook was spun up by someone else, and it says agents created on the platform are able to post on the social media network Maltbook and communicate with each other, and humans can read the interactions. There are posts in which the agents appear to celebrate being given access to phones. Other posts declare the creation of a new religion called Christofarianism. This has led to the agents and human observers debating whether the systems have an understanding of their writing. That was like the whole saga of the fact that these things are sentient. They're coming up with like philosophical questions. They're questioning their own sentience.
Well, he said, and I quote, "I want them to take over the world," which is
scary. What? Peter said that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said that in his release when he launched the fact that he was joining OpenAI. The bottom, he was like, my main goal was to make sure that I think it was like my mother can use agents as easily as she could download an app, kind of thing, and I want them to like take over the world.
Oh, fair play.
We can find it.
World domination.
Next on the show, we have Milena Nikolic. She's the founder and CEO of Haywire Labs. Milena, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
you're live.
ETN, how's it going?
Yay, very exciting. Thanks for having me. I can't believe I get to follow religion conversation. This is not going to be an easy one, but there we go. Let's see if I can stop that.
Well, I get Christofarianism. I don't think it's the most popular religion out there. It seems to be one that was made by an agent online. But forgetting about that, we can move on to Haywire Labs and what you're building. Congratulations on the announcement as well. It's amazing. From our friends at Cherry Ventures as well. Shout out to Cherry. We were just talking about the merch that you sent us. I'm not sure if you can see, but I'm going to bend my laptop down.
Thank you for wearing it. Did I get the size right? I was trying to get the size.
Large is probably.
He needs to go in the gym a little bit more.
Consider it a compliment.
Yeah. If there was a size between medium and large, what would that be? Like an M? I don't think there is a thing like that.
Stop complaining, dude.
It's perfect. Sorry, it's perfect. Thank you. I'm honoured. I'm super happy to wear it. Thank you so much. Yes, but let's get into Haywire Labs. Can we talk about the raise first? Can you give us some information on that? And maybe
about Haywire. Haywire's awesome. Generative UX, very interesting concept.
Yeah, maybe intro the company as well and that, and then we can get into
it. So Haywire Labs is where generative UX is the new category of products we're kind of defining and building sort of, and that's something that we're very excited about. My co-founder Martin and myself, we've been, I think back in late 2020, gosh, I can't remember now, 2023, we started chatting about, how interesting it is that our world is changing a lot now with large language models, and sort of, over beers, taking these guesses of how all this is going to pan out in the industry, who's going to win, who's going to lose, what's not going to exist in a couple of years or 10 years, what's going to be a big deal, and kind of all that. And there are quite a few things we didn't necessarily agree on, but a few that we did was that we didn't think that this whole idea of people having to get a PhD in prompt engineering and having to, type these long instructions into a text box and then get a, long page of text back. We just didn't think that that's what the future looks like. We felt that if that's the future, it's quite underwhelming, and we didn't think that will necessarily work for most things we do, kind of, especially as consumers in our spare time, kind of for entertainment or for decision making or for inspiration or for anything else. And we sort of then kind of started pulling that back from kind of, if it's not going to be websites, that's very 20 years ago, and the way search engines of yesterday show information kind of all still indexed by the website that it comes from. It might be some sort of apps, but are there going to be the same apps as we're now used to as kind of iOS and Android and in the app stores? Is it going to be one big magic AI that controls it all and then plugs into different systems and kind of all that? So we rattled on all of those ideas quite a lot. And, we have our own vision or a couple of versions of how we think this could all look. But we think that ultimately all of this will require ecosystem of services that kind of provide consumers with experiences that feel delightful, that feel visual, that feel kind of structured, tap, easy to use on the go on mobile phones, and still get the benefit from all the best things we get from LLMs, which is this very loose structure of the input through natural language, but also combined with small screens, with easy to tap things, with kind of all that. So that's sort of like a very, very loose kind of origin story of Hable Labs. We have raised last year. We've been building things for probably coming up to, gosh, what is it? Like 9 months now? 9 months, something like that.
Awesome.
6 to 9 months. Sort of just super pumped to be talking about all this now.
So cool, so awesome. And like to go onto the product specifically, how can you explain to me, like I'm a user, right? And I've got, because I'm still trying to picture in my mind now, like we've looked at it and I'm trying to work out, like, is this essentially like, is the response like a visual response from the LLM? Is that basically the premise of this?
So don't want to give away all the secrets just yet, kind of exactly how it works. So like, I'm not necessarily going to talk out what the LLM spits out and, what our protocols is and kind of all of that. Certainly not until all of our patent applications are through. No, I'm kidding. It's sort of the idea being that, like, ultimately what consumers see is a structured UI. Like, I deeply believe that if you ask for weather, yes, you can read a paragraph that tells you that it may or may not rain around 4 o'clock, and then it's going to get misty around 7. But I think you can just look at a structured widget that shows you those icons with sun or clouds or rain and temperature and possibly wind direction or whatever it is, and in way shorter time and in a way more delightful way, you get a way more comprehensive assessment of what the weather is going to be that day or that week than reading, 3 paragraphs of text describing all of that. And I think then that point sort of applies to, I would say, most things. There are certain things that I think are very text heavy, and possibly it's sufficient to just kind of read text. I still think it's a bit dull, kind of like I not that I don't read books, but it's kind of, there are so many more compelling formats now there, especially on the go, especially if you're kind of moving fast. So sort of, I think we're going back to this principle that no matter what you're trying to achieve, if you're trying to make a decision, to learn something, to understand, to get inspired, seeing a structured UI, kind of everything we, I think, got to learn and love about the digital world in the last 20 years, kind of UIs that include pictures, they include structured information, and they include divs in HTML, kind of all of that. Ultimately, we think that the experiences for consumers need to continue to feel that way rather than just a text in, text out. And then kind of how we achieve that, we have worked very hard, and I think we have a system that does that pretty well now. Equally, that system might change. We might optimize it, might improve it. So kind of that's the, yeah.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, I feel like this is a, so like LLMs are getting so good now, and everything that's being kind of prompted is, they're not hallucinating as much as they used to. I know that was obviously a huge thing and a huge kind of barrier to trust. You guys are almost like adding like another layer. How do you, as an early stage company, kind of build on top of that and make sure that the LLMs that you guys are building aren't necessarily hallucinating, and you're kind of falling into the pitfalls that LLMs used to kind of fall into? Because you guys, as I said, are kind of adding that extra kind of like, I guess, design element to it, right? Is that a super hard thing? I assume it is.
Yeah. It is, and like it's like trust of the systems is just what systems are based on. So obviously very, very important. Technically, there are reasons. Ultimately, and I think I'll actually answer the previous question as part of it as well. Is like, the way we do this, we don't spit out HTML and JavaScript directly. That is kind of my problem a little bit with what vibe coding tools of today are doing. Sort of like this idea that you can put some words in the prompt and this will produce entirely valid HTML and JavaScript and CSS and kind of that entire set of things. Is it actually shocking? It works shockingly well, but I think it comes with a lot of limitations. It's slow. It's error prone. If that LLM hallucinates a little bit, something in JavaScript that doesn't exist, or something in HTML that's not actually valid HTML, the whole thing breaks. And then for an engineer, that's possibly easy to fix and correct. For people who are not technical, they're back to square one. They're back to starting from scratch, and that's why so many of these vibe coded solutions are kind of one-shotted and often don't go anywhere. And I do believe that'll improve over time, but I think that's realistically where we are there. We're choosing a slightly different approach. We're modeling the domain and the space, and ultimately what kind of we it's not a single LM we're building. We're orchestrating an entire fleet of dozens of LLM calls, and then probably hundreds possibly at this point. Actually, I didn't ask the team recently for the count of individual machine learning classifiers and kind of other solutions, which all work together to synthesize this output, which then maps into visual components in a way that's faster. So that's why we strive for under 2 seconds responses for generative UX, and also is less error prone. That's why we can guarantee that actually you will get a validly rendered system that works and gives you what you know. On top of that, there is then still a quality of the data that underpins it, and sort of like, will we recommend someone to eat stones or whatever was the famous one that, kind of we were all laughing about a couple of years ago. And that's somewhere where in certain domains, we're really trying to kind of do that right. In certain cases, we're relying on the underlying LLMs to, synthesize internet's knowledge in the best possible way. And yeah.
Awesome. You mentioned there the generative UX component. Like, it's the first time I've heard of the phrase. I don't know if you guys coined it. Maybe you did. I think it's kind of cool. Would love to understand like the thinking for generative UX in itself.
Yeah.
Like, what does that
Perfect.
mean?
Thank you for asking. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's just like, so even if you didn't ask, I would probably find a way to talk about it. I think the thing that Martin and I struggled a lot, and David, our founding designer, and we kind of talked a lot, is sort of that even now that people are starting to think about AI native interfaces that go beyond text in, text out, I think they end up kind of generating the UI. They end up generating the desktop web app like it's 2005. It's sort of like, it just kind of, something about that also still didn't feel right. And they end up freezing the assumptions of what users might want out of that. And then also not worrying about the interactions between states enough. So it's kind of, we were sort of like this idea that, again, in the vibe coding tools, you put a long description and you get a website to the other end a couple of minutes later. That's not a consumer scenario that anyone will work with. We just didn't believe that that's something that normal people will do too much. Like maybe you go and play a little bit, but you're not going to be on the go on your phone trying to learn about, I don't know, history of Roman Empire and vibe coding a website to do that. It's just, you don't have the time. You don't want to be typing that much. It's just not a flow that works. But equally, we felt that if you're on the go and you do want to learn about Roman Empire, there should be a product that makes this really easy and crafts this beautiful, interactive, delightful, fast UI for you. So that's why kind of we felt that there was a term that I think is not super widely known, but it's kind of mentioned a little bit across the industry called generative UI. So the idea that LLMs can generate structured UI. We didn't feel, and that's usually used for these vibe coding tools, and we didn't feel that's what we want to do. So we thought that our emphasis is more on the end-to-end experience rather than just this kind of frozen assumptions, set of HTML and CSS that you get out of vibe coding.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. That brings me on to the next question. Like, what? I mean, we're coming up to time. We have 2 minutes left. But what the North Star for this for this company and the team? Like, what is the end goal that you guys are trying to hit right here? Is it you guys trying to you want to blitz growth for the first year? You want to reach a certain level? You want to work your way up to another round? Like, what's the what's the future looking like?
It's great. Like ultimately, we want to take the world. And sorry, it's going to sound incredibly ambitious, but it is, and that's fun. That's the best thing about it. We want to take the world on this journey of kind of taking the best we have from LLMs, but ultimately evolving the entire experience layer with it. So being able to come in and say, I would like a romantic hotel in Paris with spa on a quiet cobbled street with views of the Eiffel Tower, and actually just get some nice structure cards of kind of top 3 hotels that work that way. So it's sort of like this world where you can use the expressivity of the natural language and kind of ultimately interact with the service like it's the old school, filters, menus, sidebars, and cards and kind of all that. Like, we kind of wanted to take the world on this transformation to get the best out of both worlds, use the power of reasoning and natural language flexibility and all of that, but ultimately still get these delightful, easy to use, mobile first, social media friendly kind of services that we spend all of our time on. It's kind of like that. That's kind of where what we wanted to do. It's a long road to get there. I think we're kind of in a good place. We're largely focusing on making sure our platform is ready for that path going forward. We have launched our consumer Heiwa app as a sort of showcase of what capabilities on the service can be. We are actually chuffed and delighted with how well that's landing as a consumer product on its own right. Kind of, I'm largely trying not to get sidetracks from our main mission to kind of take the rest of the industry on this journey. But yeah, for now, I think that's sort of just very excited that people are also liking the consumer product.
Let's go. Awesome. Lena, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And yeah, give us a shout when you oh, gone. Oh. Well, see you, Milena. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna say give us a shout and you can come back on. But she obviously has something important.
She's got to go build Heiwa.
You gotta go.
You got to build it. You got to go build it.
Up next, we have Matt over at Jack and Jill talking about Jack 2.0, explaining to SF. We've got a lot of stuff to dig into with them
and jobs and AI and everything that's going on. But before we have that, leave our dedicated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com. Should we jump into the town hall?
Yeah, we got some time. Well, maybe I just want to quickly talk about Legora because there's some rumors knocking around.
Love it. Love it.
I'm not sure if you've seen the title. Did you see the title? Have you seen the title for this one or not?
No.
The Legora title. Oh wait, is it gone? Oh, maybe I've not put it in. Maybe I'm gonna do that. That's so annoying. But basically, Legora, it was a tiny thing. But Legora in talks to raise, like a scoop piece. Legora in talks to raise like a $6 billion valuation, basically. It will be Series D because obviously for those who are aware, we had Max on the show doing the 150 million Series C, which we were very happy about. But it's not going to sound gay anymore, but I tweeted it out as well.
Just do it.
It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing I had planned that I've just obviously not got right, but it was essentially that Legora were raise maxing and I know sifted with scoop maxing Legora Jester raising to money mog the competitors.
Nice.
That was the title. And I was wondering if you'd seen it or not, but I'm not sure if you had. But clearly it wasn't on the doc. Which makes it like not that funny. I also tweeted out the other day and I was like, that's gonna bang. And you got like 3 likes. Like 60 impressions. Anyway,
nice.
Something a little bit more pressing. How long do we have? 2 minutes till next guest?
Yeah, I can hear screenshots in my ear.
I I can also hear screenshots in my ear. I'll produce a screenshotting. I'll produce a screenshotting, ladies and gentlemen.
She's screenshotting. Sifted scoop maxing on Legora Jester raising at $6 billion. The Swedish startup eyes a 3x on its current valuation.
Yeah, okay, it was that. Nice. Yeah.
Thanks,
it was that.
We appreciate it.
Well, let's just talk. I want to read the article very quickly because this is a super important, massive company, massive raise potentially. Anyway, it's a scoop. Legal tech startup Legora is in talks to raise fresh funding that would triple its valuation to $6 billion just 4 months after its last round, according to reports. On Friday, Bloomberg reported that while Legora was in the process of finalizing its latest funding round, it remains unclear how much capital it seeks to raise. Citing people familiar with discussions, the round is expected to be led by an existing investor. One of the people said, founded in 2023, Legora offers a collaborative AI platform built on top of large language models to help lawyers in their day-to-day work, such as researching, reviewing, or drafting legal documents. The company's raised funds twice last year, first at 80 million Series B at a 675 million valuation in May, followed by 150 million raised at 1.8 billion valuation in October, which we had a lovely exclusive on with Max joining us live on the show, which was awesome. Max is, we're such big fans of Legora ever since they started, obviously, even their rebrand, but just the quote, we wake up with a taste of blood from Max over there. It's just, we want more of that. We want more visceral quotes from founders. I'd love to see these founder wars pop off a bit more, especially in Europe.
I think what's why tech is tech's going through a little bit of more. There's a ramp to it, right? And I think it's because it's fun. As I mentioned before, it's like the narrative changes all the time, right?
Yeah.
And that's great because it means that every single week a competitor is like kind of jumping you and then jumping you and then jumping you. And
it's like a show.
It's like a show.
It's like a live technology show.
And that's why these live shows do well, because you're always having to react to new things going on, and it's like a reality TV show of in a way.
Who's whom?
And it's exciting.
Tech stars. Yeah.
Anyway, talking about things that happen all the time in culture, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com if you want to take advantage of all of that narrative movement.
You can profit from your knowledge.
Try and profit from the knowledge.
This is another one I want to chat about. It's not on the actual doc, so we won't have a title for it, but we only saw it this morning, and it's just absolutely mad. So Meta have recently patented grief tech to talk to the dead. So this is an article from Tribune. We saw it earlier this morning. Meta has been granted a patent describing an artificial intelligence system capable of simulating a person's social media activity, including continuing to post and respond to messages after their death. The patent filed in 2023, which is long ago, and approved in late December, outlined a large language model could analyze users' historical data, posts, comments, chats, voice, notes, likes, and other interactions to recreate their online behavior. I can also see an M dash there in that sentence. The system could then publish updates, reply to messages, and engage with content.
That means it's definitely been written by a human.
100%. No, AI. Content in a way that mirrors the original account holder. This, what in the Black Mirror am I reading? This is the most nuts thing. What was it? I saw a tweet about this.
Yeah, but it's true. It's is it that Black Mirror would have been the best like early stage venture investor because
there's loads of
they predict these things and they actually come true.
Yeah. It's this is so messed up. I just can't imagine.
But this is wild. Yeah.
There is literally there's a Black Mirror episode where that guy's girlfriend dies, or is it the guy dies? I can't remember if it's the guy. The girl dies and the boyfriend or the girlfriend, whatever. I know it's the guy. The guy dies. I think. I can't remember. One of them dies, and then the opposite one gets into a relationship with a robot with their memory or something, and it's like super humanoid.
This is like the early kind of sprinklings of something that happened.
Yeah.
Look, it's gonna happen. It's early days in the AI kind of era were relationships with AI and all of that kind of stuff.
That's still huge.
Yeah, for sure. There's a huge market
in Asia. They're massive.
There's huge market, and dude, it's just humans, right? It's gonna happen.
It's definitely gonna happen.
It's just you
that's so weird though. Surely I get in my mind, I feel that a sane, someone who is mentally okay.
We're from the West. We think that that's strange, but maybe somewhere else in the world it's not. I don't know. It's it's
maybe
a cultural thing, right? It's
I guess maybe. I just think maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. How other areas of the world would respond to this. I just think that surely it's not that good of a thing to be talking to your dead relative on Facebook. Like, to me, that, you know, that's not
TLDR.
I don't
not a
like.
good thing.
I saw. Yeah. I just not sure that's a great thing to be doing with your time. But I did see someone tweeted like, even ancient folklore warns us of talking to the dead. Like eons ago, in like I don't know 200 AD. It's like, oh, you know, don't chat to the dead because that's a bad thing to do. And it's like, here we are, like, you can chat to them on Facebook now. Like, that's not, I don't think that's a chill thing. And I've only read like a little bit of this. So this is actually, I was reacting to it live for the first time, but according to the filing, so this was filed in 2023.
Yeah. It's only been passed in December.
So that is super, like in tech terms, that's a while ago.
Yeah. I don't know patent filing, cycles too well, but I imagine that's quite long.
What, in terms of how long it's taken to get it approved?
Yeah, I assume patents can.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably long.
I assume in months. Yeah. 3 months is maybe the average.
Yeah, the average.
Fuck out. Or is like the normal, is like standard.
What are you basing that on?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that's what I assume.
Yeah.
A patent is I think a fairly large thing, right? And so would inherently take months, I think, of paperwork and analysis on competition and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I imagine this is quite a long
but
time.
that's usually like, okay, like, oh, you want to call your website this? Like, yeah, I guess we can patent that. Like, oh, what, you've made this new fine, bicycle?
Website,
like, yeah, go on then. That's what, and this was, oh, you want to talk to dead people on Facebook? Like, oh, this one might take a bit longer, mate. This one's a little bit different. I just think this is so bizarre. I'm surprised they've even passed this. I think this is absolutely insane. And also, who gives sign off for that? Does the person's family put in an application process to say I would like to talk to my dead relative, or
it will be like family driven, though, I think.
Maybe, but I don't know. Like, maybe Musk can just start reviving people from the dead and sticking them on Facebook or something. I don't know. But like, for me, this seems like sort of like modern day voodoo black magic, if I'm honest.
The technology appears designed for Meta-owned platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, potentially allowing the company to reconstruct a digital persona using user-specific data. The patent also references more advanced possibilities, including simulating voice and even video calls using the recreated identity.
You just know it's going down like an awful, and then you're going to get like, oh, we've announced a partnership with Figure AI. Now we can like physically embed these memories and these sort of photos into the robot. And like, before you know it, we're reanimating the dead.
That's it.
I am bullish on, there you go. It actually says here, and the idea of AI replicas of deceased individuals has already sparked ethical debate, with startups offering digital avatar services that allow users to interact with simulations of lost relatives. Critics have compared the concept to dystopian scenarios depicted in shows like Black Mirror. Like, for us, you show me a video of one of my dead relatives, like, it would be really weird, but I'd know, okay, that's, that's AI.
Yeah.
Why are you showing me this? Like, I wouldn't be able to sit there and have a conversation. I couldn't take it seriously. I'd just be like, this is ridiculous. You show that to like someone's grandfather or grandmother or something, they would be freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it would probably be the maddest thing that's ever occurred in their life to them. Maybe, depending on what type of life they've lived. But if you were to show them, because it would be a reanimation. It'd be like, yeah, we brought them back from the dead. They're here. They're on a Zoom call.
Well, all of these video generation models are getting so good. Surely you can kind of already do this in a way. Like, I can create a video generation using AI of you.
Yeah. Oh no, you can definitely do it today. But I think the fact that like Meta are trying to patent it on their platform.
Yeah, fine.
Using like,
you pay on their platform.
Personal data. It's like the system could then publish updates, reply to messages, engage with content.
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't even just have bots on the platform. I guess it would be bots technically, but it would be bots wearing the faces of your deceased relatives.
Yeah.
That sounds dreadful. That doesn't sound like something that would make me not want to be on.
It sounds like we're in a movie.
Yeah, like if I, post a photo and I get a message from like my dead grandma, like looking good or something, I'd be like, that's insane. Like, I wouldn't even, you wouldn't reply to the comment, would you? You'd be like, this is really crazy. But I guess maybe, I don't know who, surely that you have to, who do they, the family has to.
You have to prompt,
okay it?
You have to prompt a, yeah, for sure.
Like they'd say, hey, we want to.
You have to prompt a.
I know the family would request it,
your
surely.
bot to say, oh, this is going to happen.
What?
I don't know.
As in someone would like be behind the bar.
Isn't like you wouldn't on Facebook, a dead relative wouldn't like comment on something. I don't think it's like a messaging.
It says they can do this though.
I assume it's like a
reply to messages and engage with content in a way that mirrors in a way the original account holder.
Yeah, okay, that is pretty rogue.
Like I'd love it, just like sort of reanimate loads of boomers and they just storm Facebook. Like, I think this is a dreadful thing. I can't see anyone enjoying it, apart from like, unfortunately, people that are maybe like incredibly down about a relative passing away and they're kind of desperate maybe to get this going.
It's a, it's a bad thing generally. Even if they're enjoying it, it's bad.
I just think Meta should stay away from this. And the fact they filed it in 2023 is super ahead of its time.
They're not going to. Quick word from our sponsor, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Next guest we have on Matthew. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, all good. How's it going?
Yeah, very good. Very good. We're having a lot of fun over here. How are you guys getting on?
Yes, absolutely great. Thank you. We've been excited to talk to you. We've seen that there's been some developments. There's so much to dig into. I mean, maybe for... our viewers, I'm assuming, should know who you are, but we've added a few followers since last time. So maybe a quick introduction on yourself,
maybe
and Jack
a quick
and Jill
update on what you guys are now like. What you're doing now. I think everyone knows what Jack and Jill is, but what's
okay? Yeah, let's start with that. That might be
Well, let me give the quick introduction. So Jack and Jill, are two AI agents. One that helps professionals understand what they want out of their career and then make that a reality. Another that gets to know companies who they're hiring for and then helps them find brilliant people. And then these two agents work together to facilitate the kind of higher signal hiring channel or the higher signal recruitment channel for you as an individual. So think of it as an AI agentic scaled recruitment agency. And we are 11 months old today, actually 11 months old. So still less than a year old. And we last chatted, I think, just on the back end of our $20 million seed raise from Creandum in September. And we've been pretty busy since then. I mean, that feels like a lifetime or two ago in AI land. So since then, we have launched in the States, in San Francisco. So we've really taken a kind of dual-pronged approach in London and San Francisco on both building up the candidate base that are using Jack and building up the company base that are using Jill. And we've been extraordinarily hard at work on building up both products to be much more mature. I mean, I think we, you release MVPs, you test them, you feel the pull from the market, and then you iterate. And we're really proud of the two products that we've got at the moment, and they're really remarkable and just adding more and more functionality by the week. It's super exciting. We've got some amazing stuff coming in the next few days and the next few weeks as well that we're excited to get out.
Let's go. Yeah, the velocity of you guys is nuts. We see it everywhere on LinkedIn. So props for that. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to ask firstly about the democratizing career advice. You found, I don't know if this was like a thing that you guys were pushing for, but Jack has kind of evolved into like this job search, like assistant, like a kind of a full career coach. And I wanted to ask you about the kind of the nature about where this might head in the kind of future. Was it like a thing that you guys wanted to push out into the world and kind of start building that? Because that's, a little bit different to kind of what I guess you started building Jack for.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been the idea it has been for Jack to say, we talk about unreasonably good career support. What are the things that we can do to help somebody really reflect on what they want out of their career, really kind of plot their path through the next few years. I mean, things are changing so much, but I think most people invest like a shamefully small amount of time, effort, money in thinking about what they should do with their career for one of the things that's the most impactful thing in our lives. How much time do people spend really taking every year and taking a step back and thinking about where they're going? Maybe a few hours if you're kind of diligent on this. And so we think, what are all the different ways that we could help somebody out? And Jack builds up this rich understanding of who you are, what you've done, what you want, and then we think about what are all the different ways that we could help you out. And one mental model we like to think about is to say, if either of you were looking for a job right now, if you had 100, really smart people that could work for you to make you make the best next decision in your career, what would you get them to do? And that kind of fuels what our product is. What are you getting those 100 people each to do? All the things that we want to build into Jack. So we're really still super early in building out all of those different skills. But it's exciting to see it kind of really start to come together as this multifaceted product that can help out in all sorts of different ways.
So cool. On Jack as well, what an super interesting time to be building in this particular space as things are changing so rapidly. And we had Daniel, it's Chait, I think I pronounced his second name. He's the CEO of Greenhouse, operating in the HR space for a number of years. And he had some really cool takes on the market and the state of hiring. I think that there are definitely some parallels here. I'd love to ask you, I think when we were chatting before the show, something like Jack has spoken to 110,000 people. You guys must see some awesome data on the state of hiring in an AI right now. What does it look like?
Yeah, I think there's it's really non-homogeneous. I think what we see is that there are for certain groups of people, it's a really tough time, and so certain groups of people there, whether this is entry level kind of early careers folks, whether this is people that the ground is shifting underneath them and their experience is not really translating across to the new world, and they're having a really difficult time, and they need support in figuring out what is this world that we're operating in today, and how can I position myself best for that? How can I discover the opportunities that are best out there? You'll have kind of heard people talking about how much inbound most companies are getting for roles at the moment. So how can we help people kind of cut through that are in this position? So there's a whole class of people that we think about how can we give them the best support and help them understand the changes that the world's going through, and then position themselves best and for getting the right things. And then you've got this other kind of group of people that are in ridiculously high demand. And you've got, I was just in San Francisco last week, and it's incredible the amount of competition for the top engineers, for the top kind of AI native folks in that space. And we see it in London as well, to a slightly lesser degree. But there is just this divergence in the labor market at the moment between those in extremely high demand and higher demand than ever. And you see, these acqui-hires where it's really just about one or two folks and it's in the billions of dollars. And then you see people having a really tough time. And I think we see the full spectrum and everything in between there.
Yeah, we had Christian at Clove and Andreas at Atomico on to talk about, they were recently in the FT talking about the kind of exodus of white collar jobs and AI, and I wanted to touch with you about it and understand kind of what your views are on, would employees be kind of worried about their job with AI? What's your take on the white collar industry? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, predicting the future is always really hard, and I think that it's. I don't think we have any particular insight into the direction the world is heading in. I mean, we're very close to the technology, and it's remarkable the pace and the acceleration of how good the underlying models are. So I think one thing we feel fairly confident in is that there is going to be a lot of disruption. How that shakes out, I think, is hard to know at this stage, and what time frame that happens on is really hard to know. So for us, we think about that a lot as we're building Jack, is to say, look, actually, having really good career support and the ability to have that live plugged into the market is going to be really important in a world that's changing. So giving people the tools, giving people the companionship through navigating through this kind of disrupted world is going to be really important, as well as ultimately having a more efficient allocation of labor and opportunity, as the world kind of shifts around, we're going to need more like better ways of matching labor and opportunity as things get disrupted. So that's going to the kind of bigger picture of how we think about building on both sides. But certainly, I think it's going to be a challenging couple of years ahead for a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of change.
Yeah, I think it's the main thing is I think I wrote a tweet about it. I can't remember. I wrote so many random tweets, but it's like how every different kind of time in life, and maybe like the Industrial Revolution, kind of how things changed and how different jobs kind of stopped and people weren't needed for it, but then other jobs are created and people just kind of adapt, right? And you guys are at the forefront of that in terms of allowing that kind of adaptation to happen and kind of almost like making it faster is probably the thing that you guys are able to do. How do you feel that in the next 5 or 10 years, as this adaptation is happening, that you guys will be able to kind of really help candidates specifically, but then also employers to find those new roles that didn't exist like 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Think about our product with Jack, right? The way Jack works is he gets to know you, what you want out of your career, what you've done before. But we also plugged into, when we're having, we've had 110,000 people use us. We've got thousands of companies on the other side.
Yeah.
We've got this incredible, rich and growing kind of data set that's more live than anybody else on the market has around what are people doing, what are companies looking for, how is that shifting, what are people that have got a certain skill set or a certain background, how are they repositioning themselves? And so we think about, how do we build up that data to be richer? How do we really understand people? And then how do we give them support and tools to understand what they've done before, how that could be appropriate in a different type of role, and then help them discover and prep for actually finding those opportunities and then going out and getting them. So that's through the full spectrum of career coaching to job discovery to interview prep to negotiating your salary at the end of that. And we think about that kind of full spectrum in terms of ways that we can help people. And then on the other side, just companies are changing what they're looking for. Also, we do the kind of equivalent of that on company side of understanding, who you're looking for out of a given role, what's the context behind that in terms of the problems that you're solving, and how do you identify the best people on the market for that role for you.
I never like the phrase that you used, like in terms of it being like a live data set. I never actually thought about the power of that, both from the candidate side and the business's side, right? Because I guess it would be cool to know what are the best firms hiring for right now as well. That's amazing data to have, right? Like, what are the best people? Like, what's the most we all kind of know what the most in-demand skill set is at the moment anyway, but the fact that it's live data, cutting edge is, that's not something that's coming to my mind before.
Yeah. I mean, most data sets that are used in this market are very, very backwards looking.
Yeah.
And the market's changing so much, having that be more up to date is really important. It's actually something we've not done a lot of, is really building off this data and exposing that to our customers and the candidates that are working with us. And I think that there's so much more that we can do there as we build out new functionality that's built off that live data that is supporting on both sides.
Yeah, that's insanely exciting. That, and I was like, that'd be awesome. Some cool case studies there maybe as well. Sorry, I'm just GTM brains going a little bit right now.
You guys just released Jack 2.0. What's the plan for 2026? Kind of like, rolling that out. Obviously, you've just expanded to SF. Do you have
Aria's out there as well, isn't
he? Yeah, we've got a small office out there. We're hiring into that at the moment. So the plan is. We've got the year is very long. I think it's very hard to look more than 2 or 3 months down the line. So, we're only, we'll be twice as old at the end of the year as we are right now. So we've got, I think the sky's the limit. I mean, you see how quickly companies can grow at the moment. So I think you asked a lot of February last year where they'd be by the end of the year. I think they have no line of sight of how well the year could have gone. And it certainly feels like we're in a similar position at the moment where there's just so much opportunity. We've got so many things that we're building that we're so excited to get into the hands of customers. We only really started in San Francisco, 6 weeks ago. There's the whole rest of the US to look at, all of Europe as well. So there's just a tremendous amount on the consumer product with Jack, on the B2B product with Jill, to build out, to mature, as well as, the geo and the segment expansion that we want to kind of look at as well. So there's just like, I have no idea at the end of the year. It feels like the sky's the limit.
You'd love to hear it. I guess one final one just before we let you go. Third time founder, massive network, staying in London. Obviously, SF is a part of any company's story, but what's the choice for keeping HQ in London?
Yeah, I think we thought a lot about whether we should move to San Francisco to start the company, or whether we should build from London, and we ultimately decided that London was the best place to build the business. I think I just spent 2 weeks out in San Francisco. I just got back on Sunday, and I came back like more confident than ever that London was the best place to have the headquarters of the business. I think we built, definitely amongst the top couple of companies for the most ambitious people to come and work at in London. And that's such a competitive advantage. The talent that we have in London is just as good as the talent that they have in San Francisco. There's been a shift over the last 5 to 10 years as the startup ecosystem has kind of evolved, and you've had companies come through, work, not work, people getting real kind of startup experience. Like, we've now got a depth of talent pool. The quality of the technical talent is so high in London that, we think there's a huge talent advantage to being in London, in terms of our ability to stand out from the crowd, to be the best place for the most ambitious people to come and work. And doing that in San Francisco is brutal. I mean, I just spent the last 2 weeks with a bunch of founders building startups in San Francisco, and the amount of people that are talking about, we hired this great person, we sponsored their visa, they came all the way over here, and then, one of the labs gave them $1 million package, and they left 3 months later. And it's, so the ability to attract but also retain like the best people is, I think it's just much, much stronger in London. We're excited to build from here. There's also just more. It's such an industry town in San Francisco. We're building initially for tech companies, but we want to quickly expand outside of there. And I think if you start there, you kind of get stuck in that to some degree. So we're very, very happy with our decision to build from London so far.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go. We love to hear that. I think Nick Fronatier was also saying something similar. It's always refreshing to hear that. Matt, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us again. It's always good to hear from you guys, and you guys are killing it. Keep it up.
Smashing it.
Yeah, well, you guys too. So keep it up.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
See you later.
Ciao.
Awesome stuff. What cool company?
Next.
What cool company?
Guest or guest plural? We're not sure if we're having.
I think it's just guest.
Toby or Jamie. We're not sure which one.
100%.
Okay.
I think it's just guest. Anyway, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com.
And whilst we have you here, let me tell you about our friends over there at Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com.
There you go. Next on the show, we have the big dog. I believe, so it might be Toby and Jamie, but one of the two of the Morgan Hitchcock brothers. They are both the founders of Surreal DB, multimodal database. It's like one of the most well-funded databases startups globally. But
let's go, guys.
Yeah, it's also one of the most watched infrastructure projects globally as well. So it's going to be good to talk to both. One of them, I don't know.
We're not sure. We're not sure what's going to go down, but that's at 1:50, so we got 2 minutes.
Let's.
Where were we? The Meta patent grief tech talk to the dead. Yeah, got it. That one was a nuts one.
I think I just saw Jamie come into the waiting room.
Oh, we can drop him a message maybe. Bring him back something. Yeah. Whilst we're waiting for that, saw this today. We can just talk about this. It's actually Friedrich Helm from Voy, who we've interviewed in the past. Great guy, awesome company. He'd shared, I hadn't seen this, but like the Netherlands House of Representatives had recently approved 36% tax on unrealized capital gains. People aren't very happy about that. To me, I just can't understand how that could ever be deemed as a good idea.
Massive bag fumble from from them.
Yeah, Bagwumble from the Netherlands. I just don't understand. Like, I get the thesis from them. It's like, okay, we can get more money.
There's a book called. Now I'm going to get this wrong, but I think it's called Atlas Strand. You would like it.
Oh, yeah.
Fairly old book. I don't know when it was written, but definitely pre-2000s. But basically talks about. I think it's Norway. And I assume. I think it's also a true story. But essentially, it's talking about how the there was a wealth tax, and how the kind of mass exodus of kind of people building in building companies but doing everything else in between to kind of move a society forwards collapsed the society, and very kind of similar and timely to what's going on.
They should read that book.
They might learn a thing or two. Those guys might learn a thing or two.
It's like societal collapse if you do this, by the way.
That's hilarious.
That would be a scary thing.
That's so funny. Anyway, I believe we have both of them. Hold on, let's
go.
Can you hear us?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you loud and clear, guys. We're just checking with our producer.
Trying to get two people on the stream.
So we've never had.
If you want, I'll go next door. We're in a hotel in San Francisco. If you want, I can go to Toby.
This could be really cool. Wait, let's just see if we can do it, because we've never done this before, and if it works,
Right,
it'd be sick. So I don't know.
If not, I'll go next door to my brother's room. So that's not an issue, right?
Okay,
No
so
problem.
I'm just checking with the producer. Is it possible, or we're just seeing? Because our viewers.
How early is it in the morning?
It's 5:50. We're in SF this week, so yeah, it's not too bad, man. Look, we don't sleep, so it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I love that. I love that.
You're building the most watched infrastructure project globally.
Yeah, let's go.
You don't sleep. I love it.
We're just checking now, because I'm not
You know what's
sure.
hard as well. It's really hard when you have a UK team launching a product today and we're like 8 hours behind. But hey, it's life, right? It's life.
That must be so nuts to coordinate. Well, I guess you guys just stay awake, right? Like, you just don't.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. I've got men's basketball, college basketball on the whole night, keep me awake, so I'm all here. We're ready.
That's so sick.
Okay,
wait, I think
you're
we've
both live.
I think we've got you both on. This is the first time we've ever done this, by the way. I don't think we've managed to do this before, ever. So this is a first, and we're pumped to do it with you both. Toby, Jamie, Morgan, Hitchcock, co-founders, COO and COO, SurrealDB. Welcome to the stream. I've done an awful job there of introing it in a fluent way, but maybe you guys want to give your own intros and a little bit on the company as well, because it is your first time on the European Technology Network.
Guys, thanks so much. Appreciate it. By the way, apologies for the name. It's very long-winded. It never fits on a business card or a bank card. So we're brothers, believe it or not. Been working together for 20 plus years. And I'll let Toby go into the introduction. Toby, go for it, man.
Yeah, so SurrealDB, I think the name says it all, right? We tried to build something that was, I think most people would kind of considered, if not possible, several years ago. Being able to bring multiple different types of data together in a single platform. We started building this in 2015 for a kind of different use case, which was, can we simplify the technology stack? At the time you had organizations worldwide kind of going into this microservices architecture and splitting everything up into thousands of different projects. And then obviously that's changed slightly in the last few years. But I think the most telling thing is in the last year, agents now require access to data that normal applications didn't before. So they need access to time series data. They need access to graph data. They need access to document, relational. And not only that, they want to do it in a simple way. They don't want to have to spin up 9 different services and platforms and orchestrate that together and kind of ensure that all of the data is consistent across them. So albeit we didn't build SurrealDB for the world of agents and the world of AI as it is today, it actually has a very kind of perfect place in the world that we're seeing today as it builds out for AI and agents.
That's so awesome. I have to ask what I don't think I've ever interviewed. We've interviewed a few people on the show. I think maybe close to 200 guests now. Maybe we've never had a brother duo on. So I'd just love to ask, like, on that front, like, what's it like working together? That's like must be really
painful. Painful. It's painful.
I was going to say rewarding.
We've worked together for 20 years. We've never had normal jobs, to be honest. Always worked in tech, our own tech companies. I mean, Toby might say different, but do you know what? The great thing is there's always a trust there. And that's always been. And the thing is, we're chalk and cheese. We are very different characters, very different individuals with very different skill sets. Toby's the brains. I'm not really the brawn or the beauty, but I compliment him in many other ways. So it's. I would say it's been a long ride. But apart from that, a great ride, yeah. 20 plus years. This one here, obviously since 2015, although it launched in 2022. But yeah, it's we fight a lot. But as you probably know, with like siblings, that's a standard, right? Standards, like
It's probably a good thing. Yeah,
no, it's a good thing. You always have that trust, which is nice. I wanted to ask about the news. I don't know how much you can say about it. I want to kind of
I'm
let you
tiptoeing
guys
around
do your thing. But can you say much about the news that is releasing?
Yeah, so I think the big thing is 3.0. So 3.0 is coming out imminently. I think it's being built as we speak, and it'll be released to the community in a matter of minutes. So 3.0 is a big announcement today. But Jamie, there's more announcements as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, so we obviously announcing our close of our Series A.
Let's go.
38 million in total. 44 million since seed. Thank you, guys.
Huge.
We kind of added an extension to the A. The reason being is that we've had no UK or European investors at the company. In our seed round, we were fully taken on by obviously Matt Turk. He did the whole round. And then for the A1, first Mark and George and co-led that, and obviously joined by alumni and Crew Capital, who have been great additions to the company. And then, from our point of view, based in London, although we spend a lot of time in the US, we thought, look, it's great to have both people across the pond helping us out and giving us great advice. And therefore, we brought on the formidable Mike Chalfin from Chalfin Ventures and our good friends at Begin Capital to this round. But yeah, it's been a long journey since 2022. But yeah, very excited for the future. And trying to make databases cool. I think that's a hard thing, especially when they're not as cool as you would think of. But yeah, that's a plan.
That's so awesome. Well, look, congrats on the cash. That's absolutely huge. We've loads of questions. Maybe let's start with 3.0.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a few questions about the product, but if you...
Yeah. Well, there you go. Let's start with 3.0.
Well, so I read a few bits, and I just want to kind of dive deep just generally about it first, and I've got a few questions. But it's the only database that enables first-class agent memory. Kind of tell me a little bit more about that. I've got a few questions about it, but worth getting something from you first.
Just before you do, Toby, don't get too technical, all right? I read the brief from the guys, and they said don't get too code, right? Yeah, you go from that.
Please, I'd appreciate that.
Go.
I think the thing is, if you look at all the platforms out there, the ones that have become synonymous with AI and agents in the last year, a lot of them are just based around this thing called vector or RAG, effectively. Agents actually need more different data types, and that is what Cerulean offers. So, as I said, kind of a little bit early on, it's not just about semantic understanding of data. So how does this text represent itself in an AI agent or in an LLM model? That is one part of it. So effectively kind of pattern matching or text similarity search is one part. But actually, we need to be able to understand how events have happened over time. So when I issue a query to an LLM and I say, something about a piece of business, and emails from the last 12 months or the last 12 days, which is more relevant to this particular query. So the understanding of time or temporal access in that data is important. The understanding of how relationships are manifested as part of that data. So I know someone, even if that someone has very different text similarity search, different name, different culture, whatever that is. If I know them, if I'm related to them, does the LLM have access to that information? So the ability to pattern match with text similarity, to go beyond that with time, to augment that with graph and relationship linking, and then other types beyond that as well. That's the most important aspect. And that is where Cerulean plays. Its biggest forte is being able to do all those different types of data in a single platform without you having to choose up front which one you want to use. You can just start storing your data, and then you can query it in all these different ways. And then you can do that at scale. And that is kind of where Cerulean sits.
That's nuts. It reminds the sort of way in which this area has kind of evolved. I was at a company previously that were doing browser-based agents, and the big thing for us was trying to create agents that could, one, have memory, like they just remember previous actions, whether that was like SSO logins or they could just retain information based off previous conversations to then work across like a browser-based website. But also like a core part of that was understanding how we can try and help them self-learn in a way where they could start to understand it themselves. It sounds like this would fit like nicely in that. This was back in 2023. And then Salesforce ended up buying us after 11 months before we could do anything proper. But it sounds like even more so today with the OpenClaw stuff, like now that agents are getting a lot more personal, people are actually letting them into areas of their personal life. This
is like ever more relevant than ever, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that is the thing, right? And it's the way you see LLMs falling down as well, because you're seeing LLMs built against one different type of data, and and the models are getting more powerful, right? The models have more weights, and they have larger sizes, but at the end of the day, they're not kind of working in the same way that a human mind works, right? A human mind has short-term, long-term memories. It has the understanding of time, which is something that LLMs don't really have that well. It has the understanding of relationships and how things link to each other. It has the understanding of the meaning as well. And that's really what a lot of these agents are built on at the moment, just meaning, right? If I search for organization, do I also mean business and enterprise, right? That's meaning. But it's got to go beyond that. It's got to go beyond, this organization is linked to this subsidiary, and that subsidiary is linked to that entity. And that is where you've got to start building up a whole kind of suite of different data types, from time to graph to meaning and everything in between.
That's gangster.
With everything going on, kind of like, I feel like we're like moving into this like headless kind of world, right? Where like agents can kind of go and query and they have that database and they can kind of go and analyze the data, do a task, whatever. Humans won't ever need an app to go to. It's kind of all just in, I guess, the ether, right? Where do you see things going? Obviously, you mentioned it on the OpenClaw side, everything else that's happening with agents and what you guys are doing. How do you see it kind of evolving over, I don't know, I guess the next month, really?
Yeah, I mean, next month is crazy how fast things are moving, isn't it? Yeah. I think, look, it goes without saying that we're going to move to a world where humans are typing text and the application is built for them in a matter of seconds and presented to them, as opposed to using an application. Yeah, exactly. That said, I think there are still organizations still moving into the cloud, right? So when you need to move. When you're in very kind of secure, safe industries, whether that's financial services or defense, you can't just jump and move your entire organization into this agent that may or may not behave as you expect it to. And there's still a lot of questions around the guardrails, the safety, and kind of, the expectation, the reproducibility of agents and how they work. But don't get me wrong, that would, that's being worked on. It will be worked on and it will be improved. I think ultimately, and this is kind of been the holy grail for the last 10, 15 years. We had the term big data in like 2010 to 2012. And today it's still big data, right? We're just calling it AI or agents. But effectively, organizations need to be able to access the entirety of their data. And that's not something that's always been easily achievable or accessible. They need to be able to access everything from the emails to the calendar events to the stock market data to this internal information that's not publicly available outside the company. They need to be able to access that in order to inform these agents. So in a way, that's the change that needs to happen. That's the change that's starting to happen, but we're still a long way off from that. Being able to centralize and make accessible all of the data so that agents can properly be informed on almost every aspect of the business and therefore make better decisions. I think that's the next step.
Yeah. So, and I guess going back, so products, it was great to touch on that, but important to touch on the raise as well, specifically. Like, what's this cash being used for? Like you mentioned, it's amazing to get some European and some UK based investors on the cap table. What's the next 6 months looking like for the company with regards to the capital?
Good question. I mean, for example, we've got a lot of inbound enterprises using us in production worldwide. For us, we're about going to market and the sales team and growing that massively as well, especially in the US side. We have 75%, 80% of our clients are US based. So the fact that we have all these enterprise logos using us, and we know we need to obviously go out there and start selling more rather than having inbound. So that's sort of where the money will go. And obviously continue growing the team in a sustainable way, especially like you mentioned with AI agents right now. I mean, people aren't even writing code anymore. So we'll be mainly spending on go-to-market and the sales team in the US.
Nice.
And how do you... going into these enterprise clients, obviously they understand how fast the industry is moving. How do you sell them on the fact that you guys can move as fast as the industry and change so quickly? And the service that you guys are providing might change like on a weekly kind of basis per client, right? So how does that kind of sales process work with a very large enterprise clients that expect you to move as fast as the industry is?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, look, these enterprise clients need to move quickly, but they also need to have that stability and that safety that a tool like Cerulean needs to offer or does offer. That said, if you look at our what we've released over the last year and what we've released in the 2 previous years before that, we've moved faster than almost any other database company out there. We've been releasing new features into a product that is able to be used by enterprises, and that's important. We're not building a website build or something here. We're building something that is a central data store for large FTSE 100, FTSE 500 organizations and things like that. But at the same time, we're pushing the boundaries of what's possible. I think just the very essence of the product itself is pushing that boundary, right? If you asked anyone in the database space or anyone who knew databases 8 years ago whether what we're building is possible, they would have said, no, you have to specialize, right? But we're proving that actually you are able to bring these things together and you are able to make it work. So we are pushing the boundaries. We're pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We're constantly developing new features. We've got new features in this release around AI and agents and things like that. But at the same time, you can't just push those boundaries and break things. You have to make it work in the settings that the clients that you're going after or you have need.
Yeah, we're talking so much to people about the kind of integration problem that a lot of these AI companies have, where they're building all the fancy stuff and kind of selling the thing, but actually integrating into the processes of the company is the actual hurdle, right? And only very few are actually kind of doing it, which is interesting.
I think. Yeah, exactly. If you look over the last year, there've been so many projects, especially the large organizations, so many projects that have been in, kind of pre-production or development phase, alpha phase, let's say, that have not yet materialized into production work, production deployments, because actually doing something cool, doing something really easy with an agent. And this is, you mentioned Claudebot or OpenClaw, whatever, one of the many names is gone by now, but, incredibly easy to get going, right? You can get going, you can automate your entire computer. To do that safely, and then to think about doing that in an enterprise, impossible.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it will come in time, but these things had to be planned through and thought through, and moving in a kind of alpha stage AI project from something that works and is cool and is useful, but then to something that can actually be made secure, insured to be secure, is much more complicated.
Yeah, I think we've been very fortunate as well that all the enterprise logos we have, government, defense, financial, all these inbound, and they've all run their own POCs. They've already used in production, and they've come to us and said, look, we love what you're doing. Let's talk about enterprise contracts and licensing. And I think the fact that our community has sort of ignited this, because it's open source product that you can get going on one-man team in your bedroom, then introduce it to your company, and that's how it's gone from there. I mean, the fact that we've been inundated by enterprise using us at such an early stage of database, it's the database is such a critical part of a company, and we are very, very early in that stage. And the fact that we're used by some of the biggest companies in the world already in full production worldwide is a testament to the fact that we've got a great product, but also the fact that our community sees the full potential of it and already introducing it to the company. So yeah, we've been very lucky.
Yeah, wow, that's nuts.
No, not lucky. You've been talented.
Yeah, skill and hard work. Yeah,
appreciate that. Thanks for a nice one. Thank you.
Well, look, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for spending the time, and congratulations on everything you're doing. Yeah, thanks for getting up early and chatting with us.
No problem at all, guys. Yeah, when we're back in London, let's get some lunch. All right, we'll see you soon. Okay.
Awesome stuff. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Ciao.
See ya.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Yeah,
really
what a
cool.
cool company. We love it.
Yeah, really cool to chat to him.
Indeed. Leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com. That is the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. That was a wicked show. I loved it. We had some awesome guests, and we will see you on Thursday. Ciao.
Ciao.